as well. What a move for the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
And of course, we've got the Formula Ford 1600s, we've got British Formula 4 action, and you've got myself, Lewis McGlade, you've got Cameron Roger in the commentary booth. And of course, we're in for a lot of fun here. It's not a circuit which it seems like you prefer so much. I absolutely adore this place.
Yeah, it's a very tricky one indeed. I've done a few carnage field races over the last few weeks around here, so let's see what these guys can do this evening. I think it's going to be a great race, you know, whatever happens, but it's certainly one of the more narrow and twisty circuits that we have on the calendar.
Of course, we had those 3 weeks back-to-back where we had racing each week. We took a couple of weeks off before we come back to it. So let's remind you of the format. Of course, we'll be starting with the Formula Ford 1600s, which will be starting with a lone qualifying, which will just about to be started now. Then we'll head into the first race of the evening before we'll take a little bit of a break away. We'll bring in you the qualifying in the first race of the British Formula 4, and then we'll return with that all-important reverse grid race from the Formula 1600s. That is going to be pretty chaotic around here, to say the least. Of course, we're 4 rounds into the championship. We've done Brands Indy, we've done Donington Park, we've done Snetterton. We are now here at the Oulton Park International layout. So we're going down to the Shell Oils corner as well before we go to Silverstone in a couple of weeks' time. Again, a couple of weeks off after this one, as well as we had a couple of weeks off before it. Then we'll go to a triple header to end the season, Knock Hill, Donington, and of course, Brands Hatch. Should be a fun little store to end the season, but this will cross us over the halfway point, Cam.
Yeah, the season is certainly ramping up, and I always love it when we get to halfway point in the season. You can always really see who is there going to be contesting for the championships at the end of it. And in some ways, it sort of opens the door for opportunities for other drivers, because it may get to a point where they don't really have anything to lose anymore. If they're sort of realistically out of the title fight, they can just go for it and take some risks, which then also puts the title contenders in a bit of a tricky situation. Do they want to, you know, defend and battle with those people?
Let's speak of the title race, because there's no teams championship in the Formula 1600s, just drivers. And Henry Moore has had a lot of control in this championship. Did not get the double victory at Snetterton, but did, of course, in the round before. 132 points to their name. Dan and Moore 40 behind before we get to Jason Cooper. Adam Tompkins, who started out the season fairly poorly, but has really bounced back over the last couple of rounds. Hero Zambra. We get Ronnie Smith, Isaac Phelps, one of the, if not the highest penalised driver on the grid in 7th position. Franek Sikorsky, who turned things around a little bit at the last round before we get to Brandon Loudon and Matthew Crisp, the top 10 in the championship. Again, there are no teams championship in this, like what we're going to be focusing on the British Formula 4 Esports, just talking about what the drivers can do. Now, today they'll be fending themselves around the Oulton Park International layout. This one's about 4.3 kilometres. We'll take a look around the circuit as we come out of Lodge Corner, up Deer Leap, and then onto the start-finish straight. This race down towards the Old Hall, the first corner of the track. This is where we're going to see a lot of track limit excursions, especially here on the exit. You'll see them run wide. You can go wider than it kind of feels like you should be able to, but you know, you will get a 1x if you go too wide. We come down Denton's into Cascade, and this is one where you really can't run wide. Even about half your car length, a car with over that, including this lap, probably would be counted as illegal, going out a little bit too wide there. On the short run down Lakeside towards the Island Bend, bit of a lift to go through this corner. Definitely be flat in the Formula 4s later on into Shell Oil's corner. A lot of banking here. You want to go for a later apex and then punch it out. But watch out for the understeer catching you as you try and leave the corner. Keep it over the left-hand side before you try and straighten the braking zone coming down into the Britain's chicane. And again, try and nail that exit. Got an instant point there if you run out too wide. Again, about half the car width off the circuit will pick up a 1x. We'll pick up an off track. And we go over hilltop, then down into Hislops, heavy onto the brakes. You can kind of brake around about the 80, 90 metres away from the corner, carry the speed through the apex, pull it back over to the left-hand side of the exit Hislops as we head through Knickerbrook, up Clay Hill, and then keep this one absolutely pinned before we get to Druids. Going under the bridge there to transfer from the inside to the outside of the circuit, coming past Water Tower and then up towards Druids. Double apex right-hander. You can kind of avoid hitting the first one as long as you make sure that you hit that second one and then get that final exit as we head our way back down to Lodge. Tricky little breakers in here, a lot of bumps and kind of hard to know when to actually turn in for this one. So easy to do it too early or just completely miss the corner yourself. Then as we head up through the hill once again to finish a lap. That was Dearly. That was a little look at Oulton Park and the international layout. We head into qualifying though, Cam. Wonder if Henry Moore can do it again. Looking for 4 consecutive pole positions here. Well, we can see Henry Moore then on the circuit at the moment, then going through that chicane. Kind of aiming for that 4 consecutive poles. Of course, 5 minutes, 15 seconds left to go in the session, so still plenty of time.
Yeah, certainly, and Moore has been the absolute dominant driver over the course of those first 3 qualifying sessions. As you say, getting 3 on the bounce, and I wonder if that is going to sort of be the story over the course of the season. It's coming around to set his first lap, actually. At the moment, Zambra is there up towards the front. Obviously, Zambra missing that previous round, so he's dropped down the standings just a little bit. He's quite a few points off now, especially if he wants to go for that second place in the championship. But Henry Moore, what can he do coming in towards the final corner? Definitely a very difficult braking zone, but one if you nail, you can gain a lot of time.
Let's take a look then. Of course, been the dominant force in the championship thus far. Up towards the line, Henry Moore will go and see if there's going to be another pole position. At the moment, with that 42.6, I was going to say it was taking a little while to update, but yes, that will indeed be the provisional pole position, but it is not by much. We know these cars, it's generally quicker on that second lap time. You're bringing heat into the tyres at all times.
Yeah, look how close these lap times are. 0.2 of a second for the top 5. Any little mistake and you'll easily go up or down those positions. So you've really got to be nailing your laps around here. We have seen Moore get pole position gaps of 0.3 or something like that, but currently under 0.1 of a second. So it looks like it's going to be very tight lap times around here, which is what we like to see. Should keep the racing nice and close when we get to the 2 races a bit later on. But for qualifying, look how much they're sliding there through Britain's right on the limit for Isaac Phelps.
Yeah, honestly, that was absolutely beautiful through the British chicane. Love to see these cars just sliding around that a little bit. But again, watch how heavy we get onto the brakes here. Just about 75 metres, throws it in, rear end sliding all over the place. Again, brilliant car control from Isaac Phelps. We head through Knickerbrook and start that rise up the hill. Again, not exceeding track limits either side. Took a lot of it on the inside though. You can exceed it if you're doing so, but you can see there's no reaction from Phelps, so definitely not so. Into Druids once again. This one's less heavy on the brakes, but you just need that little jab just to get that nose pointed into the corner. Looking pretty tidy here.
Yeah, you definitely have to think about getting that front end, not any downforce on these cars, no front wing at all. As Moore goes up towards the front, Zambra as well. They both get ahead of Henry Moore, but what can Phelps do coming out to the final corner now, the final kink there up towards the finish line. First lap of the day for him is going to be a 43.0. That's going to be a little way down, 9th place there, half a second off.
Yeah, a bit of a shame there, but obviously still going to push for another couple of laps. That might be a little wide there through T1, but should be fine. Dana Moore looking for a first pole position in the championship, naturally. Obviously, in the previous round, Dana Moore was the driver who qualified in 2nd place. The other 2 qualifying have been 9th and 10th this season, so looking to really turn things around despite being right up there in the championship. Start finding some speed in a consistent basis in qualifying, and that will piece together a championship, because you don't want to be working your way through the grid in both races, which is kind of what Dana Moore's been leaving himself doing. Owen Whittle, Ollie Ettridge, the pair of those two improving. Whittle inside the top 10, Ollie Ettridge inside the top 15. As we can see, more down into that Hislop chicane. Slightly less slippery than what we were seeing there when we were on board with Isaac Phelps.
Yeah, it's maybe difference in driving style, maybe just some mistakes coming, because you do need to get that rear rotating, but you have to be right on the limit. If you start having too much lateral movement, then the car's obviously not moving forward in a straight line. You're not making that positive progress up the track, and even just by thousandths of a second, that can be so important. Here is Amor once again coming down in towards Lodge Corner, and the final one of the track, final braking zone. Very difficult, but if you get it right coming out of this hill, you'll be seeing your Delta just going green and green and green, coming up towards the start-finish line. Can he improve on that 42.4 across the line? Yes, it is. It's a 0.3. That's going to be up towards pole position, improving even more. Look at the gap as well, 2/10.
Yeah, it's a very impressive lap time. Ronnie Smith now gets himself ahead of Henry Moore. Zero Zambra on a return to the championship in second position. Henry Moore coming out through the final corner and pushing his way up towards the line, looking for a fourth consecutive pole. Jason Cooper gets himself onto the front row of the grid, and Henry Moore will cross the line. It's a 0.5. It is not good enough. So Henry Moore will conclude that pole position run to start the season at just 3. But where will they end up on the grid? Who else has got times coming in?
Yeah, it looks like Martin Wilke's one of the drivers out there on the track at the moment. A few others just coming around. Of course, they do have a couple of laps in the session, so a few of them doing them early, not coming up towards the check flag. Here's Whittle in that ninth position at the moment, does a 0.7. It's going to be a 4:10, so should be a bit of an improvement up. Yeah, it is into 7th place right now, just getting 2 more positions for his starting place.
Yeah, Jack Badger, another one just outside the top 10. Around a second off of the pole time. Would like to find another 2 or 3 tenths, but unfortunately only moving position a couple of positions ahead. Badger will come through the final corner, up Deer Leap, and then over the line. Let's see if there is going to be an improvement somewhere in those 42s. Ed Hope goes inside the top 10. Jack Badger goes inside the top 10 as well to end that qualifying session. But Dan Amor will start from his first pole position of the season. Fantastic effort.
Yeah, very good. And also in general, just to see how close the field is. I don't know if it was that extra week of practice coming into this after the 3 back-to-back races to start the season, but everyone is looking to be on the on the pace today. And here is your grid.
Yeah, Dan Amor then starting from pole position. Jason Cooper will start alongside him for the first time. We've seen him on the front row since the first round of the season. Zero Zambra and Henry Moore will start from 4th place, with Ronnie Smith inside the top 5 and Adam Tompkins with a bit of work to do after qualifying down in 6th place. He was 5th in the previous round. Owen Whittle and Ed Hope start themselves on row number 4, with Jack Badger and Brandon Loudon just inside the top 10. Martin Vilk and Isaac Phelps were on board with a scrambling lap time with Phelps, but still plenty enough to get himself involved in the mix. Daniel Caulfield in 13th position. Frank Sikorsky, after a decent round in the previous week, will start from 14th position with William Hope. Then Mac McFarquhar, that's probably his best qualifying session of the season. It is indeed for Mac, so brilliant effort from him. Cameron Knowles and Ollie Ettridge will start in 18th position when we get to the final couple of rows. Matthew Crisp, Jordan Groves, Connor Scudow and Aaron Mensah in 22nd position for the 3rd consecutive time. Not getting a lap time onto the board is Aaron Mensah. Whether that's intentional or not, we'll have to wait and see. Now, obviously we look at the starting grid. Can Dan Amor win from pole position? Do you think Henry Moore's still going to be involved in this victory? Do you think it's going to be a big slipstream fest round here?
Moore seems to be very good in the racing, but I mean, Henry Moore as well, leading the championship, you cannot count him out, and he's very good with those last lap battles as well. An interesting top 6 on the grid is also your top 6 in the championship, so all of the top drivers getting to the front here.
Of course, again, do remember, like drivers like Zero Zambra missed the previous round, so you know, got a little bit to prove here. Maybe coming back to the championship and thinking, look, I'm not going to be taking advantage of those. They've got 2 drop scores basically over the season, and Zero Zambra now can't take advantage of one of those because they were absent. Let's see what happens though as we get 15 minutes onto the clock and get ready to go racing here in Cheshire. We are underway. Of course, Dan Amor starting that one from pole position. Jason Cooper, Zero Zambra, and Henry Moore, the championship leader, a bit further down the order. They scramble their way down towards the first corner at Old Hall, and Henry Moore's trying to get around the outside of Zero Zambra into that first corner. Big spin in the background. That's Martin Vilk, who's gone for a spin right in front of the field.
Yeah, he certainly has 2-3 more cars involved in that one. Looks like everyone else is going through rather nicely. Side by side through Cascades. That is a good run, actually, because it slows down your opponent coming up towards the very fast Island Bend. The massively fast left-hander still side by side there for that second place. There's Henry Moore on that inside, trying to hold it there, but round the outside it goes. It's going to be, I think there's Tompkins trying to come around inside down towards Shallows.
This is risky from Henry Moore on the outside of Zero Zambra, trying to get it sticking on the way down towards the Britain chicane. Championship leader putting a lot on the table here, trying to fend his way past the 78 onto the podium. Not quite doing yet, drops back in line now, feels the pressure from Ronnie Smith as well. They go over Hilltop. Ronnie Smith's looking on the attack. Don't count out Adam Tompkins as well, who's been fantastic in the races. We ride on board with Tompkins on this occasion as he's trying to take over the top 5. He's going to back out of this one from Ronnie Smith as they head their way through his lots.
Yeah, not the biggest braking zone there, so it's hard to outbrake someone. But Sassy, a very good effort though. It's the amazing fights actually up towards the front already. A little bit of a gap though forming there behind Smith after that little bit of a sideways side battle from Tompkins, just dropping off a few car lengths. They could be important as the top lots start to get away up through Druids now. Very fast corner indeed. Look, Tompkins got 3 cars pushing him in behind us. Hope, Whittle and Badger all trying to get close.
Meanwhile, Danamore is feeling that pressure from Jason Cooper as well. But I will say Danamore does know how to win races this season. Has won 2 over the championship, including the previous one where he had to defend throughout pretty much the entirety of the race from Henry Moore. Jason Cooper obviously yet to take a victory, but is one of the most consistent drivers in the championship. Has yet to finish lower than 6 out wide. That was Adam Tompkins. That would definitely be an instant point for an off track. That was very wide through Old Hall.
Yeah, definitely a talking point at this track is the track limits. This one, as you mentioned in the sort of the hot lap as well. Talking of that, so many cars just sliding out a little bit wide there. Definitely not the fastest way around the corner, but then also you get the instant points as well. Not what you want to be doing. Is up towards the front. It's almost a battle for the lead as well. As Moore's trying to defend. Cooper's really pushing him all the way. Cooper's been coming back very strong in these last couple of races.
Yeah, Owen Whittle and Ed Hope obviously switched positions there as well. I did think that Ed Hope had quite a slide coming through the Island Bend, and you can see even more side by side. This happened to Mount Martin Vilk, so got a little bit of a tag, was out wide, did get himself a little bit of a tag, and then dropped his way down the order. That was a bit of a shame. The tag coming from Brandon Loudon in that first corner, and so the pair of those dropping right the way down. Big shame.
Yeah, not the nicest place to have contact, that front to rear contact. Just, you go around, there's nothing that you can really do and save at that point. First corner of the track, though, and it's probably one of the more difficult ones on the calendar, actually, because it's so fast there, and especially from the standing start. You're not coming up to it at full speed. You're not really braking so much into there compared, and yeah, definitely a difficult one to take the opportunities. And talking of opportunities, the top 4, look how close they are. Moore is going to have a big task on his hand to defend from these drivers. Got Cooper, Zambra, and Moore. Basically, all the drivers, that he's competing for in the championship, they want to take that position. Yeah, and one driver who really doesn't need to take any major risks in all this is Henry Moore. I was talking to him a little bit coming into the round. He was saying he was feeling fairly nervous about this, which kind of makes sense. It is a risky track, and it's kind of one that can fall apart very quickly. So for Henry Moore right now, I'd probably recommend just sit there, just wait for the race to come to you, and we'll see how things piece their way together. Don't try and push anything. Let the other drivers do that. Jason Cooper, Zero Zambra, they will definitely go for something. Right side of the screen and the webcams, that is Jason Cooper. Left side is Dan and Moore, not wearing a Chelsea top this time, so I've got a bit more respect for him. Yes, indeed. I wonder what these guys are going to do, because we've actually got a couple more drivers of Smith and Tompkins getting onto the back of this. Might be a 6-way battle for the lead very shortly. But what we've often seen is the drivers, they wait for the last lap, maybe the last 2 laps is all. That is a driver dropping down. Sikorsky had an issue there on the XL Shallows.
Yeah, I've seen a few cars have a couple of issues around there, taking a lot of curb there. As well was Frank Sikorsky trying to basically just rejoin the race. Jordan Groves, Cam Knowles actually gone off and all that. See what happened to Frank Sikorsky. So I'm wondering, that is bizarre. We'll go with that. There's the only one. There was definitely contact in there, but that is the most weird spin that I think I've ever seen. Just a touch of wheel-to-wheel contact. There's a bit of space between, but let's be honest, there really wasn't enough for us to start throwing around, net coding and stuff. That was definitely contact between the pair of them. Just a weird spin that came with it.
Yeah, it was. It was weird. He obviously had just so much more overspeed. Very interesting ones. We've had a bit of a drop here from Moore. He's got Zambra over the back of him. Actually, they swapped positions, haven't they? Moore's got past Zambra. That is why the gap has opened up. And that has brought Smith back into this, trying to get inside the top 4.
Yeah, exactly. Henry Moore has made his way up into 3rd position. It's allowed the top 2 to check out. Jason Cooper probably won't attack Dan and Moore for a few corners as he'll hopefully grouping behind battle a little bit harder. But it's kind of one of those things where you see Oulton Park, it's such a narrow, such a tricky and twisty circuit. You don't really account for the circuit as being quite high on the slipstream front, but you know, in these Formula 6 runs and the Formula 4s as well that we'll be racing later on, it is actually a big draft fest around here. You run quite a lot of downforce in the British Formula 4s, less so in this, obviously. You run it basically, you slap as much on as possible. It means you punch quite a hole in the air, so you go after it. Jack Badger's had a problem coming through the island bend. I'm going to assume he's probably dipped 2 wheels coming through the island bend, and it's just pulled him straight off the track.
Hopefully he wasn't helped around there, because that is going to be a very fast accident. Yes, he does. He's got a car on his inside there. Is there going to be contact through this part of the track? No, it just goes wide. Just goes way too wide. Couldn't quite keep it in. Manages to avoid everyone else. Does he avoid the wall? No, little boop on the wall. And he continues going. But that just shows you how he got to really get into that camber on the inside of the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those ones you'll see a lot of side-by-side in British F4 later on. You won't see as much in this because obviously the downforce, you can actually kind of stick it around the outside in the F4s. In these less so, you're relying on that mechanical grip. That's why I was saying on when we were looking in the hot lap earlier on. In these, it's a bit of a lift going through there. In the British F4s, it's easy flat. And so you can get side-by-side, but if you dip 2 wheels on that grass on the outside, you're going off either side of the circuit. It's exactly what we saw there. Ronnie Smith and Ciro Zambra switch positions for 4th position. Zambra's dropping back because Tompkins has come through, and out wide goes Smith, out wide goes Zambra on its return to the championship. Zambra is round. The top 2 though start this fight as Danamore has to fend off from Jason Cooper, who's out wide.
And Moore's going to come through here. Can he get a double overtake? Because Moore did have the best exit onto this legside straight as well. Up the inside, it's going to be for Henry Moore. He was 4th place a couple laps ago. He's now looking at the race lead. Coming in towards Shello. Can he keep it in towards the braking zone? Should be able to up the inside there. So Moore battling with Cooper now relinquishes that lead to Moore.
And why is he the championship leader? Oh yeah, because he does things like that. Very good stuff from Henry Moore then, working his way up to the race lead. Certainly not done yet, and I don't believe that you can count out Jason Cooper. Let's take a look on replay as to how things pieced out in that battle for 4th position. So it was 3 wide in the first corner. I'm not sure Ciro Zambra was fully aware of that. Made contact, and they would all go for a bit of a spin. Ciro Zambra right in the middle of the road, coming through a blind corner. That was very scary indeed, but he did exactly the right thing, holding it in position before getting back going again. What do you make of that contact?
Oh, I feel a bit bad for Smith there. He had nowhere to go. Karan is inside, Karan is outside. I don't think he could have done too much more in that situation. That is just when you get 3 drivers going into that first corner. Very difficult leaders. There's more carnage here coming down in towards his slopes. Yeah,
Matthew Crisp, who we're looking at here, is the driver that was backwards. So what has happened? Is there going to be assisted contact? Is it going to be a hit with the barrier? Oh, no, just too much speed in. Easily done. Very easily done.
Yeah, it's actually a rather than a chicane, it's almost like a fast right-handed corner in towards the tighter left. As they're going at it, the lead once again. Harry Moore on the outside, Dan and Moore up the inside. They go side by side for the race lead as they come up through Denton's now. Who is going to back out of this one? You can't really go side by side through Cascades. We saw what happened last time with Cooper, and yet Moore backs out of that one.
Yeah, superb. Again, the up and under potentially might work from Dan and Moore. He's got the inside line as they head their way down Lakeside. This could work. Henry Moore surely got to back out of this one. You don't want to leave it around the outside of the island there, but he is going to give it a good go. Obviously giving plenty of room. Look at how much space was left over the right-hand side of the circuit as Henry Moore leaves it to the inside, coming into Shell Oils. So tight between the pair of them. Dan and Moore just giving about as much room as you could possibly give without anything more. And Jason Cooper is watching these two go side by side, and Dan and Moore going into the British chicane. Had to really work for that one, but retakes the race lead.
And Henry Moore actually adjusts that really well because he still had the momentum coming out of the corner, but does he have enough though coming down to his opposite? I think he's lifting off just a little bit potentially because that's to let Cooper get right up the back of him. But yeah, Moore is definitely got the racecraft in him. Did very well there. He, of course, just relinquishing the lead, letting Moore go back through, but also not losing out the opportunity to Cooper. Sometimes we see this where people battle so hard they then lose further positions, having bad exits out of those corners. We still got a four-way battle though, with Tompkins right on the back of these three.
Yeah, of course, we've had 6 races this season. in those 6 races, we've seen 2 different winners. They are the top 2 in the championship. They are the top 2 in this race, but they are reversed. Dana Moore second in the championship, Henry Moore leading the championship. And of course, then you've got Jason Cooper and Adam Tompkins. We said about Adam Tompkins' second, I say second half of the season as if like we've done half the season yet. Not yet. He started out the season poorly with a terrible run at Brands Hatch, courtesy of a couple of incidents and such, fair enough. But from that point on, has finished in the top 4 in those 4 races, currently running in the top 4 once again. Would dearly love that race victory to take us into that second half of the season and to take us into that reverse grid race that's coming up that is going to be edge of your seat action for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 10 races to go, including this one over the course of the season. 40-point lead. So if Moore can start getting these points, it's just 7 points difference between first and second, we can start taking those off every race. This is going to be potentially good for him when we get to later in the championship. But we know Moore's not going to be giving up with this one. Having a nice run there through Shallows, almost pushing down the Moore, actually trying to get the run up towards Britons. We saw these 2 side by side there just a couple of laps ago, having to back out of that one. So Moore, every time we've seen him in that front, he can't seem to pull away. I guess it's just that slipstream pulling everyone around, or is that just him being that extra 1% more cautious? I don't know. We'll have to find out.
I think there is a bit of just the slipstream around here is actually, it's like I say, it's surprisingly high. You never really think, you don't really account for the circuit having that much slipstream, because you think, oh, it's too tight, it's too twisty. You always think the racing around here is going to be boring as. It's so not. It really, really isn't in these kind of cars. Yeah, sure, in GTs and stuff, the circuit, the cars are too big. In higher formula, the cars are too quick. But in these, honestly, it's absolutely perfect. There's just so much fun to be had. But when you've got a championship on the line, I think it's less fun. It's more stress. That's exactly what we're seeing here. Henry Moore once again extremely close. We come down the backstretch up towards the line. There'll be, 2 laps left to go after this one. Henry Moore commits into the final corner at Lodge, sends it around the outside. Dana Moore gives the room. The outside line's being taken from the 41.
And I'm very interested to see as well in the background what Cooper's going to do with this. He might be able to find a way through. Moore's going to hold it to the outside, in towards Old Hall Corner. Up the inside goes Tompkins as well. And Cooper in the background, side-by-side moves. And Moore holds on to the lead. But can Cooper hold on to this third place in towards Denton's? Round the outside, it's going to be for Adam Tompkins. That is a very tricky one, but he backs out of that. Nice effort, though.
Yeah, exactly. That was a brilliant display once more between this grouping. And I get the feeling that we are going to cross the line. I know I'm sometimes I'm the pessimist in all this, and I'm sat there thinking we're never going to see all 4 of these get to the line. I think we will see all 4 of these get to the line, and I get the feeling they're going to be separated by less than half a second, which is wild to have 4 cars separated by that smaller margin. Of course, it's exactly the kind of racing that we have in Formula 4. You know, the Formula 4 Festival happened at Brands Hatch just the weekend past. Didn't see anything of it, unfortunately. I was working over the weekend, but I did see that people like Henry Moore were over there, so they keep their eye in this kind of neighbourhood. Let's see what's going to happen, though, in the battle for second now, because Moore's had a bit of a mistake.
Certainly has. Cooper up the inside. Oh, he breaks a little bit early, though. That lets Moore hold on to that. But is he going to lose out from Tompkins now? Fortunately, he has the inside line here coming through Knickerbrook, but that was almost an awkward one. And all that batting, that's let Moore go away for the race leader with potentially 1 lap to go. That is a helpful sight for Dan coming in towards Druids this time around. Cooper really trying it, and it's just spread the 4 out.
Certainly so. So we're going to get a lap more left to go in this one. We'll see who's going to come out on top. At the moment, it's looking strong for it to be Dan and Moore. They're separating themselves by bigger margins now as they head their way down into that final sector. Dan and Moore then to start the final lap in the lead of the race. The battle for the podium absolutely on between Jason Cooper and Adam Tompkins, but do not rule them out from even being involved in the battle for the victory. You can see in the background Ronnie Smith and Owen Whittle also quite close. The look to the inside comes from Tompkins.
Oh, he tried that a couple laps ago again. Hasn't found a way through Cooper, though, so far. Cooper's actually been having a really, really strong race, but unfortunately, I think just with that overtake opportunity last time has really spread out that battle. So it looks like to be a battle for the lead and a battle for the final place on the podium. Tompkins to the outside. Oh, swaps to the inside. Oh, swaps back to the outside, trying to find a way through as Cooper holds on into the island bend.
Yeah, they're desperate to piece something together in all of this. There is the look to the outside then coming in from Tompkins. Jason Cooper hanging on to the podium, looking to return his way onto the podium for the 3rd time this season. Tompkins is looking for his 4th podium in the last 5 races as well. So that's a pretty impressive streak, it must be said. Dan and Moore is looking for 2 victories on the bounce. They're all fighting for their own little bit here.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I reckon Tompkins is going to try this one way or another. Up the inside, almost touching the grass, touching each other, coming in towards his stops. Round the outside, maybe, no, not quite enough. Cooper putting his car right in the perfect place, but there's still a really good opportunity down in towards Lodge Corner, but it's all about these next couple. Set yourself up, get that momentum.
Yeah, you absolutely must nail Druid, and it's not just for Tompkins to nail it as well, it's for Henry Moore, who finds himself quarter of a second off the race lead. There is one more opportunity for these drivers to work their way through into the lead, into the podium. Danamore takes the defensive line in as we come down the backstretch up towards Lodge Corner. It's the outside line being taken from Henry Moore, the championship leader, looking for his 5th victory in the season. It is not going to come, it's going to be a 3rd for Danamore, who's going to come across the line to take his 2nd consecutive victory in the championship. It is Danamore ahead of Henry Moore, then Jason Cooper and Adam Tompkins for the podium. Tight battles behind Isaac Phelps, just about being dropped, I think, by Owen Whittle. No, he did finish ahead by a 1,000th of a second.
Oh, great finish between those two, side by side up towards the line as Phelps got that 6th place. Great to see. I'm just looking down. Zamba dropped down to 13th place after a bit of a shame for him, of course, in that top battle. There's Crisp, he had a spin a little bit earlier as well, and a few other drivers. What a first race of the day, and I think that's going to just open up the door to what we're going to see throughout the 3 remaining races this evening.
Oh yeah, I think we're in for a fair share of drama. Of course, we'll be catching up with our podium finishes before we head into the first British F4 Esports coming up a little bit on in the evening. We'll take a look at where the reverse grid's going to be. Of course, the spinny wheel to decide between 5 and 10. We've had the highest number. We've kind of been hovering around the middle the last couple of rounds. What are we going to get this time? Oh, it's feeling like it's going to be 10. Don't tease me this time, Wheel. It is going to be 10. I don't think Henry Moore or Danamore wanted to see that one, but we are going to get the largest number possible. Is going to be a 10-car reverse grid, which means the first page on the results sheet is going to be totally reversed coming into the next race. So William Hope will start from the reverse grid pole. Of course, we'll take a look at the provisional results. Danamore finishing as a 3rd race victor of the season. Henry Moore, Jason Cooper, Adam Tompkins in 4th place, with Ronnie Smith and Isaac Phelps inside that top 6. Isaac Phelps, of course, just beating Owen Whittle by a 1,000th of a second. Then Ed Hope, Mac McFarquhar inside the top 10, and again, of course, we get William Hope up there as well for McFarquhar. That's the 2nd time he's been inside the points this season. Jordan Groves, Connor Scudell, Ciro Zambra. Big shame for him to be down in 13th position after what was showing as a decent race. Daniel Caulfield, Jack Badger, Brandon Loudon, Ollie Ettridge, Matthew Chris, Martin Vilk after early dramas down there, with Cam Knowles in 20th position. Of course, Franek Sikorsky and Aaron Mensah being a retirement from the race. Bonus point going the way of Henry Moore as well. That's the 2nd time he's picked up a bonus point this season. He only picked up 1, and that was in the first race of the season as well. So fair shouts when it comes to that lot, Cam. But solid race result there from Danamore. Another victory in the season.
Yeah, that's a big win, to be honest, especially when Moore got to the front. I thought he was just going to have enough just to pull away, but Moore came straight back at him. He didn't let Henry Moore get comfortable in the lead, and he didn't let him settle down at all. He just went and got that overtake back, and then he defended really well. And that's something that we've seen from him, especially very good, with that sort of racecraft. So yeah, fair play. He's putting the hammer down, and he's not letting Henry Moore run away with this championship. So I think it's going to be a great one in the second half of this season.
Well, let's grab Dan and Moore then. Of course, our first winner of the evening in the Formula 1600s, and a 3rd one of the season. Dan, I mean, that was a pretty solid race there. Had a lot of work to do, though, to defend not only from Henry Moore for yet another race, 2nd one of the season. We've had to do that in back-to-back races, but also, Zero Zampa in there, Adam Tompkins, Jason Cooper. That was crazy.
I mean, yeah, that was probably the most hectic race of the season so far, because, I mean, come out of turn 1, look in the mirror, there's been a shunt. Next lap, look in the mirror, there's probably been a shunt. There were kind of people all over the place in that one. Henry had insane pace in that one as well. That made it really difficult to defend from him, but just about held on to it.
Is this the kind of racing that you were expecting around Oulton Park? It's normally typically thought of as being quite a tight and twisty circuit where we don't see that much racing.
Well, it's one of those places where you'd straight away look at it and be like, oh yeah, I'll go from the front. It looks really easy to defend here. But, especially in this car, slow, small, there's a lot of places you can send it side by side, and either you come out worse, but it's easy to go side by side for most of the lap here in this car, which makes it so difficult to race.
I've got some terrible news for you as well. We've had the reverse grid, and unfortunately, it's 10. How are you feeling about that? I can see
no.
not ideal. What's your mindset?
well, it's all going to be all about survival, slow and steady, one by one, and try and get to the top 5 positions and work from there.
Well, we'll let you go and get prepared for that one. I'll break the bad news to the other two in just a sec.
Thank you very much.
Well, Dan Moore then, another victory this season for him to have picked up a super effort as well. But of course, second in the championship, trying to close down on our championship leader, Henry Moore. We'll catch a quick word with him before we get into the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Of course, Henry, another podium there, picked up a 7th consecutive one. Solid effort there, couldn't quite take the victory. Did have a good go.
Yeah, not a bad race. Shame I got damage from my curb where I was losing a few hundredths to a tenth a straight, but it made it hard to overtake. But yeah, well done to Dan. His pace is really good. Do you know if I got the fastest lap?
You did get the fastest lap, according to my sheet anyway.
Okay, thank you. Because I was up 8 tenths on my last lap, and I was like, there's no way this is fastest lap. But yeah, well done to Dan. That was a really fun race. I'm happy I got P2 from P4.
Now, I have already told him the reverse grid is 10, so I'll pass that information on to you. It's as bad as it could be. But, you know, you're starting in that pack. You've got Danimore around you, and obviously it's going to be tricky to work your way through. What's your mindset going into that race? Is it just keep out of trouble, or are you just going to go full steam ahead?
Just keep the nose clean, really. There should be a lot of drama. Hope I don't get damage from a curb again. And yeah, I'll just do my best.
Well, Henry, good luck for that one. We'll catch up with you potentially after race 2.
Thank you.
No worries. Well, before we get into, I wonder if we do actually have enough time to catch up with Jason Cooper as well in all this with a quick little chat. Of course, Jason Cooper on to the podium once more. Of course, good to see you back up here. Obviously, it's been a little while since we've had a little bit of a catch up. Your 3rd podium. Thoughts on that race?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised to be 2nd in qualifying because I didn't think it went particularly well. It's obviously qualifying is quite important at Oulton because it's so hard to overtake. Yeah, 2nd was good there. Dan obviously placed himself pretty well to defend until he made that one mistake at the first corner, and I tried to capitalise, but yeah, always going around the outside at Cascades is always risky, and yeah, he got a bit loose on the curb and knocked me wide. And then it was just trying to hold on to the podium after that.
Is this really like the hardest track in the calendar, or do you think like Knock Hill's potentially harder than this?
It's one of the most difficult. You do get quite a good toe on some of the straights, and if you're brave on the brakes, you could go for it. But yeah, I think Knock Hill might be quite tricky as well. Well, Jason, we'll let you go and prepare yourself for the second race. We'll head off and do the British Formula 4 Esports. But thanks, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
Well, there we go. Formula 1600 done for the first race. Of course, we get ready to move our way on to British Formula 4 Esports territory. This one should be a lot of fun. Of course, kind of copy and paste the same kind of idea. We'll go into a qualifying session, which is coming up pretty much now before we go into the first race of the evening. 20 minutes. We'll take a bit of a break before we go back to the Formula 1600s. We'll get you that reverse grid race as well. Should be a lot of fun. But of course, we've, again, had the same 6 races that we've had before. They're all battling for that $3,000 in the teams championship. They're all battling for the prize pool and the drivers championship. It is Pete Berryman leading the championship. He's taken 2 consecutive pole positions as well, and a lot of wins this season. He's looking very strong. J Caruana fresh off that victory in the reverse grid race in the previous round. Gordie Mutch in 3rd position. Luke McKeown, Pete Berryman's teammate, in the top 5. And the Stormforce Apex Racing team are kind of running away with things a little bit on the teams championship side, but it doesn't really mean that they're going to end the season in quite a way. We'll take a look at those teams championships. Of course, the 2 Apex Racing team squads, the Stormforce and the JHR by 29 Esports running 1st and 2nd. Williams Esports just outside of that with Kimura in 4th position. We'll give you a little bit of news on Kimura in a few moments' time as well, because there's a bit of drama coming into this round. Guild Racing, who had quite a strong start to the season, but unfortunately certain issues through Remy Gilbert's had a couple of problems in the first couple of races. Freem UK as well, they were looking really, really strong. A couple of issues for Josh Pulane in qualifying. I've dropped him down the order, and the team with it as well. We'll take a look around the circuit, of course, riding on board with the Formula 4, so you can really get an idea of the pace difference here. That race down towards the Old Hall corner, once again, it's incredibly fast. So fast that it's so easy to run wide and miss that apex. Just take a nice smooth line through Old Hall before you once again head your way down the avenue into Denton, pull it back over to the right hand side before you throw it into Cascades. Look for that slightly late apex and a good run down Lakeside, which is of course, you'll be shocked to hear, there's a lake on the left hand side just past the trees, up towards the Island Bend. which should be absolutely pinned in a car like this. A little bit of scraping of the floor as they head their way through the corner, again into the braking zone, quite pinned as they come into shell oils on that brake pedal, but you can carry so much speed. You come off that brake pedal very quickly before pinning the throttle. Basically it goes from 0% to 100% straight back down before we get into the Britain chicane. Once again, push it out of the corner, up over Hilltop before we get prepared for that braking zone and Hislops. Again, it's all about braking much later than you feel is possible. Somewhere around about the 70-75 metre mark, carry that speed through the corner, take it through that right-hander, take it through the left, pull it back over the left-hand side, throw it through the right-hander at Knickerbrook, and then punch it up Clay Hill. Again, keeping it pinned, making sure you're nailing where the gears are, and then thinking not about Water Tower, but thinking about Druids, thinking about getting that apex just right, running it out wide, pulling it back over to the racing line, and then firing it down this final stretch towards Lodge Corner once again in that tricky, bumpy braking zone. The final overtaking opportunity on the circuit, and certainly actually one of the better ones if you're brave. But again, it's that short braking zone. It's quite a fast corner as we head over Dearly, and that is a lap around the Oulton Park International layout once again, but this time in British Formula 4. We're heading into qualifying, Cam. I'll bring you back in. Should be a lot of fun, this one, but qualifying is going to be so important.
Oh, it really is. It's going to be incredibly tight, I think, on the lap times as well. But also with the racing around here, these cars, as you were mentioning in that lap, so fast, it's going to be a very, very tricky one indeed to make up multiple positions, I would say. Yeah, it's really just got to nail it. And that's exactly what Pete Berryman did as well. The last couple of qualifying sessions, just really nailing that lap, being able to get up towards the front. And that is the best way of giving yourself a very good advantage, because you don't know what's going to happen in the reverse grid race. But this race right now, you can have a bit of control after, and already as the first laps come in, we are looking to be about 11 seconds lap faster than the 16 laps.
But have you noticed how, you know, the likes of Williams Esports have gone out there and have attacked on the first lap? You know, Lucas Miller, Dörr Esports, the Swedish Racing, you know, they've all gone out and attacked the first lap. Look at the bottom four on your time sheets. Even throw Remy Gilbert in there as well for good measure. But Gordie Mutch, Pete Berryman, Stanley Deslandis, Luke McKeown, all represent the Apex Racing team, all doing very slow first laps, making sure that the tyres are ready for the second lap. And who was it who was first, second, third and fourth a couple of weeks back at Snetterton? Ah, yes, it was those four.
Yeah, they seem to know what they're doing in this car. And I like it that they're all around that 20-second off the pace mark. So they've obviously done some working out, done some calculations, and they found out that's roughly what they need to be slower, getting the tyres in the correct window for this faster lap. As Sarika takes that provisional pole from his teammate Josh Lag. Caruana goes up into third, but what are some of these Apex boys going to do? Berryman out of the final corner. You can just see how much faster it is when you put the wings on the car and across the line. Is he going to jump himself up towards the front? A 31.2. Yep. Yes, it certainly will.
Certainly will. Gordie Mutch follows him. Stanley Deslandis goes his way up onto pole position. Luke McKeown only 9th place, but there's still plenty of time left to go in the session, so we'll see where they end up in all this. Moreno Sarika, the focus of our attention here. That's a fast camera angle. Clearly someone's ripped out the drone to fly it around the Shellows hairpin as we look at Moreno Sarika coming through the British chicane. And that, again, that race up, that provisional pole position didn't last very long. The Apex Racing team were knocking at the door, weren't they?
Yeah, certainly. It's always... I know some people don't always like it when you see loads of drivers from the same team, but I actually like that team aspect. I like when you have that preparation, you come into it, and you just have that squad. You have all your drivers there, and you just come knowing what to do. It is a nice, it's a nice feeling, especially when you're in a team like that, and they seemingly are very prepared for this track. Not an easy one by any means, as here is Caruana getting those heat into the front tyres.
Yeah, and again, let's talk very quickly about Kimura. I said there was some information that we need to bring you about them, and particularly more towards Ryan McAuliffe, who will not be racing in round 4 of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship, courtesy of being excluded from this round in its entirety. Of course, we'll see him back hopefully in round 5, but that was courtesy of breaching license points, the license point structure, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit more about how the stewards are kind of changing some of the penalties a little bit coming out of this. But Ryan McAuliffe has breached that, so he's excluded from this round. Aaron Vass Vasquez as well, you will not see out in this qualifying for the Altus Esports team. Will be starting from the back in both of the races today. So even if he works his way through to the lead, let's say, in the first race, will still start the second race from the back of the field, courtesy of those penalties. I'm not 100% sure how that will work in the reverse grid. Hopefully Aaron Vasquez won't work his way up the order that far to for us to have that headache. Although for him, he'll be saying, I want to win. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, definitely some penalties, multiple penalties getting dished out. So many drivers, even on 3 license points so far. But yeah, McAuliffe is up to 11 license points being docked off. So definitely, yeah, big penalties coming out over the course of the first few 3 rounds of the season. And the stewards just putting their foot down to these drivers as we enter this sort of mid part of the season.
Yeah, final laps then coming in for everyone, so get ready for the timing tower to absolutely explode. I'm sure we're going to get our fair share of darts, ducks and changes. Josh Ladd returns his way to pit lane, so his session is done with 2 minutes left to go. Into the final corner, Moreno Sarica, a bit of a slide there coming through the final one at Lodge, up towards the line he's going to go, looking to beat that 31.1 that was set, and it will be good enough, so a 31.056. Although I'm not sure the lap time didn't count, so he must have exceeded track limits somewhere. J Caruana goes into second. That is a big moment there for Moreno Sarica.
Yeah, we'll see how much that hinders him, because he's already in 5th place, but if some other people improve ahead of him, then that is going to be a really big extra work that he needs to do in this session. Here's Gordie Mutch across the line. He gets into the... No, he doesn't quite, so it's still going to be enough for pole position, actually. Up towards the front, always getting into the 30s, but not quite. It's a 31.1, but then Berryman to the front on a 0.0.
Pete Berryman has come across the line then, so Berryman looking for his 3rd consecutive pole position. It looks like it might go the way the series champion from the previous year goes into 5th place, and Pete Berryman will start his way from pole position. So a solid effort in all of that one. Did get a note, by the way, that Aaron Vasquez started to drive in qualifying. When he's excluded from qualifying, and so has been disqualified from the race as a courtesy of breaching that rule. I'm double checking as to whether it's one race or both, but I'm pretty sure it's the first race. But Ted Bradbury then will be the lone Altus Esports driver in the first race this evening.
Yeah, that is just, I mean, it's a bit of a silly one to further your penalty. It's already a big penalty, starting from the back, and then to now not even be in the race at all is a bit of a shame. But certainly maybe a learning race for a couple of the drivers who will not be participating because of all those penalties.
So Ted Bradbury will cross the line, and just to confirm, yes, Aaron Vasquez will be disqualified from the first race, but will still be racing in the second one. We'll have to start it from the back. I don't think he can get himself disqualified from that one. Surely he's not going to take to the grid. Josh Poulain then, I mean, let's just say for Poulain, yeah, it's not been an easy season, despite starting it out so strong, despite having some that great first round of the season, despite seeing some great pace from him consistently. Messed up the 3 qualifying sessions in a row now, where we've seen him starting outside the top 15. So a big shame for Poulain, who started that season so strong with the top 10 in qualifying and looked really strong over the round. Anyway, obviously we'll get ready for the starting grid. Pete Berryman starting from the 3rd consecutive pole position. He's been on the front row every race this season, and he's starting alongside Gordie Mutch. Stanley Deslandis in 3rd position, with J Caruana in 4th, looking to go one better in the championship. Of course, he currently sits 2nd in the title race. Luke McKeown starts from 5th position, with Remy Gilbert for Guild Racing starting from 6th. And that will be fairly popular. Moreno Sarica and Josh Ladd make it all Williams on row 4, with Alexander Davidson and Tobias Olsen rounding out the top 10. Tamás Simon and Lucas Müller are going to get their elbows out and get themselves involved in the potential reverse grid. James Armstrong, the highest stream UK driver, will start from 13th position, with Ted Bradbury, the lone driver in this one for Altus Esports. Isaac Arvidsson in 15th, Elliot Pugh in 16th position, Josh Poulain and Brandon Abrams starting from 18th place. Rachel Concoli and Duncan Hoffland will start from 20th position, with Matt Emery struggling a little bit in this one, and the meme machine himself, Daniel Sabula, will return to the championship in 22nd. Sergio Fitzpatrick will start from 23rd, with Alvaro Marinero starting from 24th. Harley Horton will start from 25th, and the final driver on the grid, because Aaron Vasquez will not be taking to the grid this one for Altus Esports. Can Pete Berryman look any stronger in this title? Of course, he had the double at Donington. He's looking pretty strong this season.
Oh, wow. He's just... absolutely loving it, I guess. His racing's been good, his battling towards the front has been good, and he's got so much control over the course of these races. So I'd really put my money on him getting this race victory, but it's going to be so tight. It's going to be really tricky to hold off these drivers, because if you get up the inside, oh, you might have to back out of it.
20 minutes then onto the clock. 5 longer than we had in the Formula 1600s. Pete Berryman will start alongside his sister teammate in Gordie Mutch on that front row, the winner of the first race of the season. We are underway here at Oulton Park in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. A great start from Pete Berryman, our championship leader. A great one as well from J Caruana, who's got straight down the inside of Stanley has landed. They go clean through the first corner, clean up towards the likes of Cascades. They run down the avenue, heading their way down the hill. It's a solid start from our field and a great conversion from our pole sitter.
And McKeown is looking very good as well. He's got past Caruana there through Cascade, so a very good job from him. And actually, Caruana thinks dropped back another position. Certainly has, as Guild Racing's Remy Gilbert gets past. So great. So, oh, someone's on the grass there. That might be a huge crash if they can't hold on to it. But I think they just about did, because it looks like everyone's continuing forward.
Certainly so. Well, they make their way then through the Britain chicane, so a solid start there for Pete Berryman. Gordie Mutch, Stanley Islanders, Luke McKeown then rounding out the top 4 side by side. Behind that, Remy Gilbert getting his way past J Caruana. Caruana's going to hold firm for Kimura around the outside, bit of contact on the rear as the Guild Racing car gets straight up the rear end of Caruana, and it's allowing the top 4 all to clear away.
Yeah, just thinking that, got to be careful with the batting at this point in the race. Don't want to let the teammates get up and away at the front as well. Look at the Williams guys in behind. This is, we've got Sarika first, trying to get the run in towards the final corner at Lodge, as Gilbert's having to defend to the inside. That might be also an attack on Caruana, but no, Caruana holds on to that one as Sarika and Ladd try to get on the back of this battle too.
Yeah, it's going to be close then. So first lap complete. Pete Berryman leads, Gordie Mutch, Stanley Deslandis, Luke McKeown, the top 4 in the race. I've been told, by the way, that the 29 Esports, they're not part of the Apex Racing team, despite their drivers both being Apex Racing team drivers, but that's fine. They're currently running in that 2nd and 3rd position. Obviously, you know, all bets are off when it comes to it. Whilst you might be all from the same camp driver-wise, you are looking for the title yourself. And that is what they're focused on. So Gordie Mutch, he's still going to try and make his way past. We've seen even the Stormforce drivers battling between each other quite harsh back in Snetterton, and I'm sure we're going to see the same kind of elbows out driving as much as we possibly can between this grouping. But they are looking class of the field at the moment. They've already started to pull quite a margin, Cam.
Oh, yes, so as they are. When you get a couple of car lengths as well like that, as we're seeing probably about to 5 car lengths or so, you start to just struggling a little bit potentially with Caruana, but he needs to be pushing to get on the back of these top 4. But look how close they are. They're almost pushing each other. So this is the situation that we're going to be in. The good thing for Berryman, though, is he knows, he's not going to have any silly overtakes coming from the drivers behind, so they can focus on that just a little bit more. But he needs to be making sure they're not holding each other up. They're not making it even more difficult for themselves a little bit later on. Of course, this race slightly longer, up to 20 minutes compared to the 15 for the 1600, so a few more laps extra to control the race from the front.
Looking then on board with Stanley, you can see him in the bottom right. There has been an incident behind all of this, though. Armstrong, Poulain, my goodness me, yes, indeed, there has been quite a crash. I think Matt Emery was also involved in all of this. They've all dropped right the way down the order. Elliot Pugh, Josh Poulain, Matt Emery, of course, I think James Armstrong. You've got Ted Bradbury coming into the pit lane without a rear wing, so a disaster for some of our teams, and yeah, not a pretty one. Let's take a look on board then in all of that. Was that Armstrong that we were looking at here? There's Ted Bradbury on the inside, so a bit of contact with side to side, and yeah, this is not going to be pretty.
Oh, that is nasty. What's about 6 cars getting involved? Someone else just on the left-hander shot as well. That was Bradbury with no rear wing. Crazy, bit of a crazy crash there, because once you start crashing like that halfway down a straight, especially when it's so narrow there, the drivers just can't go anywhere at all. Let's see the onboard of this one to see just exactly. But yeah, I think it was actually touched the curb, which was really what sent the car around as well.
Yeah, we'll take a look on board with Daniel Cebula. Oh, hashtag deal with it. That was pretty good. Oh wow, there was more even going on afterwards.
Yeah, that was the 34 machine. That was Matt Emery just not getting it stopped in towards the final corner. He's in the pit lane as well. It's Elliot Pugh was also another one of the cars. Yeah, that is not a nice crash at all. And it's only possible around his in the background there. Zata Gilbert having a massive defensive manoeuvre to the inside. Sarika on his outside in towards Lodge. We've got Ladd also in the background having to defend from Davidson getting up his inside.
Yeah, you've got Tobias Olsen, you've got Tamas Simon in this now, lone representative of the Veloce VECT team. So Williams are the strongest team in all of this at the moment in this grouping. But obviously they're losing out so much to both 29 Esports by JHR and the Stormforce Racing teams that are currently running first through fourth. So for the team's championship, things are starting to slip a little bit through their fingers. They would very much like to get on with this one a little bit. Matt Caruana being the lone driver for Kimura, trying to get himself involved in that fight a little bit and showing, to be honest, again, I can't say enough when it comes to the positives about Matt Caruana this season. No, like comparing him to last season, sorry, totally different driver. Honestly, completely different.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He's got the speed, but he's putting those races together. Of course, getting the win last time out at Snetterton as well. That is really going to boost his confidence coming in towards this next part of the season's in. The Baron Gilbert once again, massive defensive manoeuvre. Sarika to the outside. Is he going to be able to complete that? Coming through his slops, no, he has not. And actually, Sarika's dropped back a bit now. Davidson's all over the back of him.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you've got this, like I say, the fight goes spot even back down to just, well, Isaac Arvidson's a little bit too far off the rear end of it. But you've got Moreno Sharika, you've got Alex Davidson, you've got Josh Ladd, Tobias Olsen, Tamas Simon, Lucas Muller, Isaac Arvidsson. That is bigger than my rule states. It's more than 6 cars, so we'll have to wait and see how this one's going to unfold. We ride on board with Alexander Davidson for the Pure Sims Esports team, looking to try and find a way past Moreno Sharika. Remy Gilbert's now checked out 0.6 of a second. He's running clear of the of this grouping. He currently runs in that 6th position. Alexander Davidson right into the slipstream, right behind. Not going for a move down into Oulton. Of course, the speed of these cars being so much higher, it does mean that overtaking can be a little tricky. You have to be braver with doing it than you do in the Formula 1600s. Yeah, you have to find certain corners like this where you can get a bit of a better exit. Cascade seems to be the one out onto this lakeside straight. Oh, huge squeeze there, a little bit on the grass as well from Davidson. Has to back out of that one as Sarika just jinxed to the left-hand side. He's going to have to now defend as well because obviously Josh Ladd is coming in behind. Sarika would be wanting to try and get his teammate past Davidson if he can, so they can try and work forward together. Well, that was certainly very tight, but look at this battle. You either defend, you attack, or you do both at the same time. This is honestly terrifying. You've got 6 cars here separated by a second. It is wild. Also another place where you got cars separated by very little. Of course, the top 5, they're all separated by pretty much a second. They go their way through his up, so they're all going to separate a little bit. But now Luke McKeown is feeling the pressure to ride on board with Matt Caruana right onto the rear end of this grouping. Caruana's going to look to try and work his way through one by one. Well, to be fair, maybe he'll think, do you know what? It's pretty good. Yeah, of course I'd like to be a little bit higher, but it puts me in good stead for the reverse grid, so cool. Surely not. It is a tricky one because we were mentioning this a couple of races ago actually. We were saying, is it worth getting the positions now or having a better start in the reverse grid? Because P5 could be pole. But then you have to battle hard in the next race as well, which is also a 20-minute race. So there's still loads of races left to do. So you just have to go flat out. You have to try and get these positions if you can. And the good thing that he knows is obviously he's racing against some drivers who they're going to be hard with him, but they should just completely push him off the track. So he should have an open door to go for this if he can get the run on McKeown. And McKeown's just a couple of car lengths actually behind Islanders in that 3rd place. It doesn't need to be getting too close with that one. Get your wheels off the grass and turn into the island bend, sir. My goodness, that was scary. Yeah, of course, the difference kind of in this is that, when you're, I mean, let's say, for example, that it was, Stormforce versus the Williams Esports team. Maybe you could sit behind and think, maybe they'll take each other out. This is what happened in Brands Hatch. Whereas when they're all mates, they all work together, elsewhere, you kind of can't sit back and think, well, maybe there'll be an instant between them, because there's almost certainly not going to be. Yes, some accidents do happen, but realistically speaking, they're all going to be fairly fair with each other. If not, Alex Simpson will be knocking at the door thinking, right, who's out on my team? Gordie, you're gone.
Oh, as actually, talk about that. McKeown, though, to the inside. Is Caruana to the outside, in towards Lodge Corner. He's going to try this. Some space there, actually. Nice if he can hold this round the outside. He's going to have to be very tight, though, on the exit through Dearleaf. Side by side, they're going to be. As in third place there, DeSantis just moving over, getting a bit of slipstream up towards the first corner. The Old Hall round the outside is going to have to be once again for Caruana. He backs out of that one. But certainly just opening up the door, just getting McKeown further away from the proper slipstream of his friends ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, in this scenario, actually kind of fighting with McKeown actually does make sense, even if you don't work your way through, because you can slow the pair of you down, meaning that it's more of a 1v1 fight rather than a 1v1 plus slipstream of 3. So you've got to play those cards where you basically got to play the slightly longer game here. Where I'm normally a little critical when you're fighting for a pointless reason. In this scenario, it's not a pointless reason. Absolutely go for it, as we see Lucas Müller in the Dörr Esports car feeling some pressure and going for a spin as well with Isak Arvidsson. The pair of them make contact as they race their way through the British chicane, and that is almost going to be a terrible rejoin from Lucas Müller, but thankfully managed to get on the anchors.
I mean, he stopped, but he was sticking halfway out into the road. That was almost a huge crash for the Dörr Esports driver, but he already did crash, though. And here is the replay of that side-by-side in towards Britain's. Isn't necessarily where you want to go. Was there contact, or was this a bit of a lock? No, it was. He was squeezed off to the right-hand side, actually. Abrahams did come across, and that is effectively what had that contact. Look at that, almost hitting that frame drive. Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't ideal from Isak Arvidsson. So, you can classify that one's a bit of an oops, sadly. But he finds himself. He's got 2 penalty points this season. Of course, has Arvidsson. But I think both of those on the previous round as well. I think might be under the eye of race control and might pick up another couple after that one. But alas, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, we look at Moreno Sirica now behind his teammates, dropped a couple of places now behind Josh Ladd, finds himself down in 9th position ahead of Tobias Olsson. This grouping has separated itself quite a bit, Cam.
Yeah, it certainly has. I think a couple of, obviously with Sirica dropping down, there's been a couple of battles, a couple of things going on there. And as you get that, you obviously not going at full speed. And the drivers ahead start to pull away, drivers behind gets held up a little bit. But that's basically what we're not seeing up towards the front here. But maybe the battles are going to start. As you see Mutch looking towards the inside. We see McKeown also defending towards the inside. There's the tension start to build as we get in towards the second half of this race.
Yeah, of course, Gordie Mutch finds himself third in the championship, having taken a victory and second place this season. Both of those coming in first races, both of those coming before retirement as well. So he'll hopefully want to turn the odds round on that one. Has not had particularly good second races this season. Normally gets involved in a lot of drama. We'll talk about some things that Race Control have introduced to try and cut down on some of the drama early doors, as J Caruana is trying to get past Luke McKeown. He's got a really good run here, takes a lot of the inside as he comes over Dearleaf. That has instantly slowed him down. I wonder if that might have been the code that Henry Moore was alluding to in the Formula 1600s when he said he picked up some damage. You can do so on a couple of curves down there because a few of them are quite big. Even that big grass lump on the inside of Dearleaf. You've got the Britain chicane. You can take quite a bit. You can get some proper floor damage by taking the final one, or even the first one going through there.
Yeah, you do have to look after your car a little bit around tracks like this where you have the curbs, because there's obviously a big bit stone basically sticking up, of concrete sticking up in the air. It's certainly something that you don't necessarily want to hit, especially on that front end where you have so much downforce, especially from that front wing. Gives you a lot of the balance of the car as well, and especially coming out of that final corner, you don't really need to hit it, but you can do so if you're not don't have quite the room that you would have wanted. So Mutch almost looks there towards the inside of Berryman. Oh, bit of contact, bit of 1, 2, 3 between the two. Here comes Luke McKeown all the way around the outside through Knickerbrook. That's going to open up the door to Caruana.
Yeah, certainly so. So the run's been taken, but as they come up Clay Hill, of course, look at that triple slipstream that Luke McKeown's getting. This must be extremely frustrating for J Caruana, who just cannot really do anything about this fight because, of course, they're all going to kind of like try and work to make sure that Caruana's not there, because he's the one that's going to take the most risk to try and pass. But there is still plenty of time left to go in this race. If anyone's wearing their tyres out a little bit more, there might be the opportunity to come into it later on this race. Maybe even just play the tactical game. Maybe there'll be a bit more. Big defensive move then coming in from Luke McKeown, trying to defend off J Caruana in the battle for fourth position. Caruana straight down the inside of the first corner, and finally worked his way through in the fourth.
Oh, McKeown almost made big contact there as well on the exit, but Caruana is certainly moving his way forward very nicely indeed. And if you were thinking Mutch and Berryman might not attack each other, they certainly will in these final couple laps. Oh, that's a little bit wide there for Ladd. Davidson there, they were going side by side for a little bit. Davidson managed to just about hold on to that one, but of course, just ahead, they've got Gilbert, and in behind now, that's Sarika, who's almost pushing his teammate coming in towards Shell Oil. So definitely a couple of four-way, but well, really a five-way, and then a four-way battle. I'm up inside the top 9 as well. That's about exit though from Gilbert. It's going to be side by side. We saw Conte just a couple of laps ago. Team 2 drivers, can they make it through in towards Britons? Neither of them back out side by side. That's going to slow them down. Watch for Ladd on the exit.
Yeah, here we go. There is that drive. Josh Ladd, of course, was runner-up in the season 12 months ago. Would like to show a bit more of that speed and credibility that we've seen so many times from him, but of course has not really had the season pieced together that we would expect from Josh Ladd thus far. Started out the season really strongly, but at least qualifying-wise and such in that first round of the championship. He's only had one podium, though, in 2023, and it's not going to happen in this race. He's got a long way to go before he gets to that, but still 7th place. Could be good for the reverse grid draw. Would like to go one better. Remy Gilbert, who's the next driver, has already had a win this season from the reverse grid. That was in the first round of the championship, and it was the first victory for Gilbert Racing in sim racing. Whoa, that's a big slide as well from Josh Ladd coming off the final corner.
And here comes Davidson getting a bit of slipstream from Gilbert, actually up towards the first corner, but no, he just about holds on to that. Does Josh Ladd, but that's going to open up the door now to Sarika around the outside at Old Hall. Not enough space for him to get through, but certainly just thinking about it. We're only getting towards a few laps to go in this race, and no, the opportunities are going down, and this is where you need to try and make your overtakes. But these guys, they are just pushing it to the absolute limit, especially going side by side into Britons on that last lap. You really know they're fighting for everything when you see that.
And then running through the exit of Cascade there, I'm pretty sure that was a bing, 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 bing. Everyone picked up an off track there, so that's good. It's so weird. It's not even all 4 wheels off the circuit. It's what irritates me the most about this, about Oulton Park here. I love the track, absolutely love it. But some of the off tracks around here are just unreal. Like they're really brutal. To be fair, they do kind of follow the MS UK guidelines when it comes to track limits, but those are boring, and I'm used to touring car racing where you just blast over everything. Look down the inside though from Moreno Sarika, once again trying to work his way past Alex Davidson. Did not work on that occasion. Did want to speak of some bigger gaps though. Have you seen the one between McKeown and Caruana? McKeown is completely backed off now as we ride on board with Josh Ladd trying to get past Remy Gilbert.
Surely there was a mistake in there somewhere for McKeown. We'll have to see a little bit later on as Ladd tries to get a bit of an up and under to get that momentum. Oh, massive slide. He's got it though towards the outside of Lodge Corner. We have seen overtakes here. It's certainly a difficult one though. Gilbert defends to the inside line, gets a nice apex end, manages to hold on to that one. But now look at Davidson once again getting the run as he come through dearly. Fortunately for Ladd, he's got that slipstream, so he should just about be able to hold on. But certainly really, really close battles here.
Thrilling fights from various groupings. Of course, we know we've had a fair share of drama through this race. You can see a slightly dejected Josh Ladd. I'm pretty sure that, I was going to say, it's an air cooling device. Let's put it that way. It's not really big on the air conditioning, I don't think. Maybe it's got one of those big pipes that comes out and drops it out window, who knows. But I'm sure it's keeping him a little bit cool. It's basically a glorified fan. Most likely, but it's just trying to keep it sort of cool through this race, because even in the middle of winter, when you're racing this hard, this harsh, this on the limit, you are going to get hot and sweaty, and trust me, the UK is not really warm at the moment, so I'm sure they're not struggling to keep warm though behind the wheel.
Yeah, I definitely need a fan when I'm racing as well. Doesn't matter what level you're at. It's certainly pretty stressful. And one thing I thought was interesting there with Ladd is normally he looks so calm when we get the webcam on him. But as you say, he did look a little bit flustered there. But this racing is so difficult. And look at, he's got Davison diving up the inside of him. He's trying to get Gilbert at the same time. It is very difficult. You've got to be looking in all your mirrors and everything. Up the inside into Druids though. Oh, that's sometimes an overtaking opportunity, but not that time around. That's going to lose him the exit speed as well. Sarika tries to follow him through, but to his outside, he's got Davidson.
Yeah, but he's got to really commit on the brakes to make sure that he doesn't get collected by Moreno Sarika here going into Lodge Corner. I've seen that so many times when they take the defensive line. But that is out wide there from Davidson, and that is going to allow Moreno Sarika. Of course, Josh Ladd comes straight over to give the slipstream to his mate, to his teammate in that Williams Esports camp. That was a wise move and a wise defence there. I'm not 100% sure. I think Pete Berryman's going to be extremely close to going a lap longer, because it could be the final lap, but I think by a matter of a couple of seconds here or there, we might get one more after this.
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to do a bit of the maths as he came across the line. I think you're right. I think we might just be ending with a couple of seconds to go, which is very interesting to note because, of course, he's not in a position where he can slow down for those couple of seconds. He has to go flat out, and we might just go into the extra lap. Hopefully, they've done their fuel calculations as such, because we did see DeSanders, of course, running out of fuel in setting it up towards the inside, potentially for Gordie Mutch. No, just looking there as DeSanders has to batter in the background from Caruana. But yeah, remember, he lost that race victory because he was spluttered to the right.
You can see some wing damage for Caruana as well. You can kind of see like the bent nose cone just a touch. Now that will affect straight line speed just generally with the damage of the front wing. It will affect straight line speed as soon as he pulls out of the slipstream. It kind of doesn't really affect turning that much. You get a little bit more understeer, but nothing too major. But from memory, you do lose a fair amount of straight line speed as soon as you pull your nose. So it might actually be even harder for Caruana to make a move. Of course, it could be. Might not even be that much, really. Just looking visually. We are going to get one more lap left to go, though. Pete Berryman leads the way. Gordie Mutch. Here comes Matt Caruana straight around the outside, trying to wrestle the final spot on the podium. They both run out wide. Caruana keeps his foot pinned to try and stay around the outside of DeSanders. But you got to say, a little bit of to and fro in there. DeSanders did absolutely just squeeze him straight off the road.
I mean, he wasn't on the road himself, let alone enough space for Caruana on the outside. So that was very naughty. Indeed, that's opened up the top two to get away. But DeSanders, the hardest of hardest defence to hold on to that one. As a lad, he's managed to get past Gilbert, actually, hasn't he, for this 6th place. And a little bit too far to get to McKeown. Actually, McKeown's really dropped off those top 4. But lad, finally, after pretty much the whole race, has been able to get past the Guild Esports driver.
Certainly so. So, again, more pushing, more shoving within all of these groups. Pete Berryman has half a second of a lead, though, ahead of Gordie Mutch. So it looks like Gordie's going to pick up another podium, but it does look as though Pete Berryman's going to pick up another win. It'll be his 3rd of the season again. Points leader, and he's just getting stronger and stronger. He's so experienced and so consistent in a championship like this.
Yeah, and the important point is 2nd place in the championship is Caruana. He's down in 4th place, so that's extra points gap as well. It's not like he's fighting Caruana for 2nd place. It's going to be very nice for the championship, but yeah, just one final corner to go. He gets that right, and Gordie Mutch will be in that 2nd place.
Yeah, Stormforce Racing looking stronger and stronger then on the team's championship, although JHR 29 Esports by JHR will close a little bit. Pete Berryman comes through the final corner and crosses the line for the 7th time a winner in British Formula 4 Esports history. Gordie Mutch will bring him onto the podium as well, and Standard Islanders will make it 2 29 Esports by JHR drivers onto the podium. So good for them on the team side of things. Caruana in 4th spot, which, to be fair, I'm going to say it's probably about as good as it's going to get in that scenario when you're going toe-to-toe with the 4 of those lot. Like Luke McKeown will finish in 5th position, and then we'll wait behind to see all the other drivers cross the line and wonder where that reverse grid's going to be.
Yeah, that is going to be the big factor around here, because we did see if you can control the race from the front like that, or with the pace you can pull away, but with the reverse grid, the faster drivers going to the mid-pack, they're pushing forward. So we're going to see that massive train of cars, especially for the first 10 minutes, is going to be a very, very tricky one. But once again, that is a very nice race that we've just seen.
Yeah, so we wait for the final few to cross the line. Obviously, Armstrong in there. I think Ted Bradbury's probably not too far away from it. And then we'll bring out the spinny wheel. Of course, in the Formula 1600s, it was 10th place. We can't get 2 top 10 reverse grids. Surely not. We'll wait for it to slow down. It's definitely not going to be 10. That one sweeps its way past. Could well be 5. And I think it will be. So we'll see McKeown then on the reverse grid pole, along with Matt Caruana on the front row. We've got the largest and the smallest today. You can't make this stuff up. That's crazy stuff. Crazy talk. But of course, it is then 5 for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. That will be the reverse grid. We'll take a look at the provisional results from that one, where you can see our reverse grid poleman will be Luke McKeown. Let's try and make it 2 Stormforce gaming cars taking the victories this evening. Who knows? Matt Caruana will start alongside him, but we'll go the other way around again with the provisional results. The podium being Berryman, Mutch and DeSanders. We'll catch up with those 3 in just a moment's time, with Caruana and McKeown inside that top 5. Josh Ladd, Remy Gilbert, then Moreno, Sarika, Tobias Oulton, Alexander Davidson. Fastest lap for Gordie Mutch, so he's the one that picks up the bonus point on that side of things, which will just help him a little bit get himself involved in the championship a little more. But those are the top 10, and those are the points scorers. Behind all of that, Brandon Abrahams in 11th position, Daniel Sabula in 12th place, Lucas Miller, Rachel Concoli, Duncan Hoffland, Sergio Fitzpatrick in 16th position, before we get to Alvaro Alvaro Marinero. Then we get James Armstrong, Harley Horton and Ted Bradbury, the lone driver in this one for Altus Esports. Josh Poulain, Tamay Simon, of course, Isaac Arberton, Elliot Pugh, Matt Emery, Aaron Vasquez did not make the race start courtesy of his discretions in qualifying. So he'll be starting the next race from the back of the field as expected. Whilst we prepare ourselves to head into the next race, which will be the British, the Formula 1600s, we'll catch up with our race winner. Of course, Pete Berryman joins us back in the comms booth for the third time this season, the seventh time you've taken a victory. That one looked like you had a lot of pressure on your shoulders from Gordie Mutch, but you seemed to just control that one quite well. Talk us through your race. Seemed pretty well reserved in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it probably looked a bit more pressure from the outside than the inside. Obviously, the four of us are chatting together, so I think we just wanted to control the race. It's so hard to pass here that I think everyone just agreed that it was probably better to just try and consolidate what we had. Obviously, we had a bit of a moment in the chicane there where Gordie slightly misjudged his braking, and unfortunately, Luke's got the bad end of the stick there. So, yeah, unfortunate for him. Just got to hope that the reverse grid puts him towards the front.
How kind of tricky is it when obviously when you see these cars, they're all racing so close together, and when you're trying to kind of like control the race, like you say, how easy is it to make a mistake in that kind of environment on any side? Because if you miss your braking zone by like a meter, 2 meters, that car behind could be into the rear end of you. You could be off the road, opening the door for someone else. It's got to be almost like you've got to be almost more perfect, right?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of fear. Being at the front, just trying not to make the mistake, because I mean, I guess maybe more so some other tracks, not as much as this particular track. There's very little room for error here. I mean, if you have to get so close to the tire barriers and those chicanes, hopping over the curbs, it's really sketchy. But yeah, especially being the leader has to do all the work. It's almost more beneficial. You can sort of relax in second place with the slipstream and whatnot. So yeah, there's definitely an element of trying not to throw it away and make mistakes, because you're just going to have the guys behind all over you if that's the case.
Now, I gave the bad news to all the Formula 1600 drivers because the reverse grid in that is 10. You'll be lucky, though, because the reverse grid for you is 5. So it's good news.
Hey, that's perfect
on
news.
your side.
Yeah.
Of course, it means it's the 4 of you and Matt Caruana who are the ones that get reversed in this. What's the game plan for this kind of race? Is it literally just everyone's got to try and pass Caruana early, or are you all just going to kind of work together through the race? Like, what's the game plan?
I mean, for me, I think the damage is done in terms of getting the points in the first race, so I can kind of relax a bit more in the second race. Obviously, the guys ahead, it's nice to have Luke towards the front there. So, yeah, I think the goal for me is just no lower than 5th, and if the opportunity's there, then obviously I'm going to try and pounce on it.
Well, Pete, good luck for the next race. Obviously, you'll be starting it from 5. Well, from 5th, we'll see what you can do.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Now, next up, we'll be joined by Gordie Mutch. Of course, he'll be looking forward to starting the next race from 4th place. So, going to be pretty solid by that one. But talk us through your race there, Gordie. A couple of mistakes there, but nothing too major. Bit tough there, battling with Pete.
Yeah, I mean, ideal for teams championship there. Myself, 2nd, Stan 3rd, and of course we are both ART drivers, but driving for 29 this season, but we're still working together. So the kind of position that everyone was in was perfect, and we had it all under control until I made an error down into the second chicane, braked at the same point, but it just went in a bit deep. Pete's car, I closed up to him a lot faster than I was expecting. It was a big heart and mouth moment. And unfortunately, Luke lost out of it. He sustained a little bit of damage off the back of that, so apologies to Luke on that one. But he's got the pole for race 2. But looking forward to it. I think that one was a little bit tamer than the other races that we've had this season. I think this race is more what we had in mind, using our pace to get away and then having a bit of a squabble. So we'll see what the reverse grid for race 2 brings. Every race 2 I've been taken out so far or not finished, so hopefully I can finish race 2 in a good position this time around.
Yeah, I mean, you should see the race behind you, mate. It wasn't quite as calm as you were thinking it was. I was going to bring up that you've got a very unfortunate stat here, Gordie, is that you've had 2 poor podiums coming into this round, and then the second race you've retired. It's not a good stat. Obviously, you've just had a podium, but what are you going to do in this race differently than maybe what you've done before? Because, like I say, it's been instance kind of out of your hand.
Yeah, that's the issue. Looking back at the incidents, I try to keep a bit of an open mind and say, what could I have done different? But Brands was, a really tricky situation when people just crashed in front of me. I had nowhere to go. Snetterton was the same, and Donington, I got clipped going through the chicane. It's tricky. I think try to give other people room. The genuine answer is when I see a shunt in front, I'm just going to fully commit for the grass. Maybe that's the better option, because that's one thing that I didn't do on the other occasions. So yeah, commit to the grass is the honest answer.
Smart move. Hope you've been giving that the coaching advice over the weekend as well. Gordie, good luck for the next race.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
No worries. We'll hopefully quickly grab a word with Standard Landers before we move back over into the Formula 1600. Of course, grabbing himself onto the podium. Stan, talk us through that race. Obviously, you had a little bit of a fight there. J Caruana involved. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty decent result for me. But yeah, we were pretty comfortable, 4 of us, just kind of cruising along, and Gordie made a slight mistake on the brakes, just tapping into Pete, and then just huge check up, and we pretty much all got damage. I had quite big front wing damage, and then couldn't quite keep up with them in the last few laps, and had a battle with Matt, which was completely my fault in the last lap, going really deep in T1, just putting him off a bit, but at least he still got to finish the race in a good result.
You'll be starting the next one from 3rd. Chances on a victory? Obviously, you got to get past Matt. You got to get past Luke McKeown as well. Shouldn't be too easy.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very risky to overtake around here. I mean, if you're not even just like a side-by-side move, it's very risky. If the other person doesn't back out, then high chance that you're going to crash. And yeah, I know Luke's not going to let anyone go past him after that first race. So I'd be surprised if I can get a win, but maybe a P2 and we can move forward with the other Apex guys, but we'll see how it goes.
Still a very solid result on the team standing 2nd and 3rd, so congrats on that one. We got a run off to go to the Formula 1600, so good job on your race, and hopefully we'll see you up here in the next one.
Thank you.
Cool, right, so let's jump straight into Formula 1600 mode because things are about to get quite exciting. Of course, we've got the reverse grid coming up, and it will be all 10 drivers, Cam, spun around.
Yeah, the biggest number that we can do, and it's going to be a very difficult one, to be honest, for those drivers to get back through, especially for the championship contenders of Moore and Amor. I mean, there's going to be a struggle just to get on the podium, although we'll see how the battles go, because there's been a few sort of nice side-by-sides, but there's also been a few dodgy ones as well, so there's definitely potential for them to get forward, but they're going to have to really just use every opportunity that they can.
Yeah, so of course back-to-back victories from Dan and Moore, but for those to work their way through, for Henry Moore to keep up that podium streak, of course it's 7 consecutive podiums for Henry Moore. This is going to be the toughest challenge yet for them. It's a difficult circuit, certainly one that's hard to pass that around. Of course in the Formula 4s it's harder to pass than it is in the Formula 1600s. Surely it's just keep out of trouble.
I would say so, especially for Henry Moore. I mean, look at his lead. He's got so much. It's over 30 points now. His gap obviously came down a little bit with the last race, but he has no risk at all. Just get a nice solid, top 6, top 7, get past a few of them, and then just take that result going into the second half of the season.
Well, we'll take a look at the starting grid quickly then. Will Hope will start this one from pole position with Matt Farquhar alongside Ed Hope, Owen Whittle, Isaac Phelps and Ronnie Smith rounding out the top 6 positions before we get to Adam Tompkins, Jason Cooper, Henry Moore and Dan Moore, the 10 drivers that spun around in the previous race, with Jordan Groves and Connor Scudow in 12th. We'll let the rest of them roll through so that we can actually have a little bit of a conversation on the grid. The likes of Sirius Aaron that's got to work their way through the order. Frank Sikorsky, who had that issue earlier on in the race, Martin Vilk. We know these drivers have a lot of pace. Cam, can Henry Moore get at least onto the podium? Can he keep that podium streak up, do you reckon?
I'm going to say, yeah. I'm going to say Henry Moore's going to be on the podium. He doesn't need to, but I'm going to say he's going to go for it.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. They'll make their way onto the grid. 15 minutes once again will go back onto the clock. Will Hope will start this one from pole position. Mac McFarquhar and then Ed Hope. Owen Whittle on the front couple of rows for the last time this evening as we head into the second half of the season after this. It will be underway for the Formula 1600s. Will Hope will start it and will lead comfortably into the first corner, but it's Ed Hope working his way around the outside of Mac McFarquhar, so a better start, and both the Hopes running first and second, keeping their hopes alive for the race victory. Thank you.
And there's Tompkins going all sorts of wide at Old Hall Corner as well as there's for fourth place there. There's Phelps and Whittle having a bit of a battle. Massive slide, big spin in the background as well. There's a 22 machines gone round.
Oh, was it? I was going to say, was it more, but no, it wasn't. I think it was Aaron Mentor and Matt Crisp was the. I saw red. Just panicked. Whoa, that's a big moment out wide from Mac McFarquhar. He'll rejoin the race circuit. Full on rally cross mode. Hello.
I mean, Gordie Mutch said go for the grass, but I don't think he meant like that. That was insane to be able to hold on to it as well. There's another car in the background who went off. Crazy stuff to start this second race of the evening. They know they've got to go for everything, but God, you got to keep on the track as well.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the restart. The start of the race and that one down into the first corner and see exactly what's happened through this first turn. So a couple of looks. We're looking at Matt Crisp at the moment. The focus of our attention is shot in that Oulton red and white car. There's obviously that race down the hill. What on earth happens in all of this? You've got Martin Vilk in that yellow car alongside. Commitments to the outside. Oh, it's already happened ahead.
Yeah, one car there spun right on the racing line as well. That's the 66 of Jordan Groves. He's obviously had some contact to get there as well. It's quite early in the course of the exit of the corner though, as it stands. Coming through, another car's already had some issues. Maybe that just put him off a little bit. Solo spin it seems to be from himself. But yeah, definitely a couple of cars having some issues, but it looks like it's just on their own.
Yeah, a bit awkward in that first corner. There's a little bit of a look at Mac McFarquhar's side sliding through that first corner. He wasn't the only one to have gone. I think Owen Whittle also joined him off the road before rejoining. We rejoin the live pictures though. Will Hope, Ed Hope, Isaac Phelps, Ronnie Smith, Jason Cooper, Henry Moore, Mac McFarquhar, Dana Moore, all involved in this little train. And you can see in the background, Dana Moore's getting to the inside of Mac McFarquhar whilst the Hopes go side by side through the island bend. That's risky. Out wide goes Mac McFarquhar as well.
2 laps in a row, can't find the braking zone as Will Hope's got to defend because he's got Ronnie Smith coming towards his outside as well. Of course, Phelps is trying to get involved as there's been a crash in the background once more as they go side by side. 3 cars all battling in towards Britons. We've seen contact here, but they managed to get through just about as Smith comes out in that third position. But look, all the cars in behind him. He's got Cooper, he's got Moore and Moore too.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a big one as well. One of those drivers that was taken out in all that. 4th place in the championship, Adam Tompkins. That will be a big shame for him. He's already basically used one of the drop rounds that he'll be taking this season in the first round at Brands Indy. So a big shame for Adam Tompkins. We can see in the background, so there's big damage there for Martin Vilk. The front right absolutely hanging off that car. Oops.
Wow. He's trying to get back to the pit lane. There's obviously been an issue that's already happened with that. So we've got Vilk, Tompkins, Ettridge, Crisp all in the pit lane. Jack Badger's already DNF from this race. As look at this side by side as Cooper into that 4th place. He's already making up some really good progress. He's got Cooper trying to follow him through as Moore got past or held off from his championship rival and Moore too as they're trying to get up onto this podium.
Yeah, that was very close. Isaac Phelps almost into the rear end of Jason Cooper in the first corner. Got to worry about the charge of Henry Moore, though. Out wide, Jason Cooper's going to go. Henry Moore rejoining the fight. Looks to the inside as they head their way down the hill towards Cascades. Outside, he's going to go, trying to clear not just Phelps, but also Cooper as well. That would be very brave indeed. Not quite able to do so and may end up losing out here.
Yeah, it might do, coming down in towards Island Bend, all side by side there for second place as Smith manages to hold on to that one in the background though. We've seen Phelps, we've seen Moore trying to make a move round the outside. It is going to be, can he get a double overtake? He's already got Henry Moore and he needs to hold that now, coming down in towards Britain's. The issue is he's got a car right ahead of him, so he's got to be careful with the late braking in towards the chicane, but he's got past his rival. That is a big move there as Henry Moore goes down to 7th place.
Yeah, of course, there is 33 points between Henry Henry Moore and Dannemore, the top two in the championship. Obviously, Dannemore's closing that in just a little bit, but you know, a couple of points here, a couple of points there, it's going to make the difference, especially as Dannemore is going to drop most likely going to drop the Donington round, you know, the second round of the second weekend of the season. It's probably going to drop that one, courtesy of it being poor, 13th and 6th. From that one, so there might well be you know, a couple of opportunities here and there for drivers to gain back as we ride on board with Henry Moore. There's a crash right ahead, and Dannemore's gone straight off as well with it. Jason Cooper, Isaac Phelps, Dannemore all off the road. It is glory time for Henry Moore, who's picked up 4th position. Just saw that one unfolding.
Absolutely, I think Whittle was involved in that one. So here's Dannemore up the inside of that final corner, though, as Jason Cooper on the outside. They continue on, obviously dropped a little bit away down, though, as they've got a couple of cars in behind. There's Kofa and Sikorsky across the start-finish line up towards Old Hall Corner. Up the inside is going to be for Dannemore. Cooper on the outside is going to have to back out of that one, but certainly for Moore to continue on in that race, that was huge because he was up in the air.
Well, how is Moore and Cooper still in this one, and how haven't they lost more in all of this? Yeah, the fact that they're still going and they're still in decent speed, I would be shocked if Dannemore's car is actually running at full capacity here. This is back up towards the race lead. Ronnie Smith then has actually taken it as they head down Lakeside through the Island Bend and up towards the Shell Oils corner. It is the 96 of Ronnie Smith leading from Will Hope, from Ed Hope. Henry Moore is 1.9 seconds behind. We said, will he get onto the podium? Will he take a victory? Could it come?
I mean, it always helps when drivers ahead of you go 3 wide in towards Druids, as I'm sure we're going to see a look of it up the inside. So there's a Moore on the inside there, and as well, oh wow, Cooper just had nowhere to go. Of course, Phelps getting involved in that one, so Phelps trying to overtake, and then a Moore trying to go up the inside of him, already doing an overtake. This is just way too many cars for that piece of tarmac. Oh, wow!
It is kind of like, it's a racing incident, but I will say the one that really instigated that was Dannemore, because at this point, right, Jason Cooper has absolutely no idea that Dannemore's actually going for that one. Isaac Phelps is in the middle thinking, I can't actually do anything. And we thank our lucky stars we are in the virtual world of racing, because that would have been a horrific crash to see in person.
Yeah, that was very nasty, yeah, with car going over the top of each other. Of course, no halo or anything like that in these machines, but certainly for Moore, the fact that we're saying that he's still going and he's not going to be losing a ridiculous amount of points to Henry Moore, so far just 2 positions, that is, yeah, certainly an interesting one. Big shame, though, for Phelps, actually just on the inside there. In the end, unfortunately losing out with this battle so far. So as it stands, Ronnie Smith is up towards the front. He's got the 2 Hope brothers just in behind. Henry Moore, I was going to say he's chasing him down, but the gap has remained the same over the last lap.
Yeah, but as soon as these battle, that gap will disappear. And as soon as Henry Moore can pick up that slipstream, the gap will disappear. That's the kind of like the important bit in all of that one, that we might see it come down quite swiftly. But again, it's just about piecing it together, just bit by bit. It's come down to 1.8 seconds. Obviously, it's going to come down slowly, but as soon as it gets within that sort of like that 1 second margin, the gap will just go. Shout out as well to Matt Muthaka, by the way, who in the previous race scored only his 2nd row of points this season. Still sat in negative when it comes to the point standings in the championship thus far at -1, but currently running in 5th place. So that's pretty impressive.
And he's been off the track twice, we've seen so far.
That's true.
As well. I mean, he was massively off as well. I still can't believe that he managed to save that one. Certainly a lot of grip on the grass here at Oulton Park, but he's doing a very good job in that 5th place, as you say. But also a good job is these drivers up towards the front. What a battle they're having. But as you just mentioned half a lap ago, that is leaving Henry Moore to catch them up, and he's almost within that 1 second gap, which is the all-important number, generally speaking, in racing. Will Hope in that 2nd place, trying to defend, trying to attack at the same time, but losing time.
Yeah, here we go then. The defensive line's being taken from Ronnie Smith. He comes straight over the nose of Will Hope. Ed Hope's back involved in the mix, goes up into 2nd position, does the 11 to the outside as they head their way through Old Hall, squirms and slides from the grouping. Ronnie Smith holds on to the race lead. 6 minutes left to go in this one. So still a handful of laps left to go. I think it'll be 4 as they carry their way round, which does mean that Henry Moore is right involved in the mix for victory, looking for his 8th consecutive podium, but would like a 5th win of the year.
And he was 2 seconds behind this time last lap, but now he's round the outside to get onto that podium. Big speed there with everyone battling up ahead of him. But he has to back out of it though. He has to drop down into that 4th place. Is that hope just about holds on, but maybe not on the exit of Shello. Side by side in towards Britain's. How much does he want to risk, knowing he's ahead of his championship rivals? Looking like he's taking the smart option. Yeah, exactly. Like I say, the thing is, when you're in Henry Moore's position, I know you're in a comfortable position in the championship, but you'd really like it to almost basically be over, like as soon as possible. And we're approaching the halfway point in the championship. He's got so much control. He's around the outside of Ed Hope. There's nearly contact between the pair of them. He's taking a fair amount of risk here. He's got the outside as they head their way through Knickerbrook. He'll have to get the up and under as they head up Clay Hill. But it might well leave him the inside as they get towards Druids. I don't think he's got the speed advantage to leave it side by side with the Druids, because the inside line comes through Water Tower, but maybe a slight lift there from Ed Hope, which has allowed Henry Moore to scoot his way past. Yeah, we have seen a big crash there, so maybe not, a good safe option for Hope is he's going to come back though in towards the final corner. But also, Ronnie Smith is having to defend Will Hope on the outside there. Not enough to get the move there, but he might get the momentum onto this start-finish straight. It's going to be the outside line for Old Hall Corner. You actually do gain a few meters with it being a left-handed kink have the inside of that, but Smith holds on and keeps that lead with 4.5 minutes remaining. Yeah, we've still got plenty of time left in the race for any one of these 4 to take a victory, and let's. I'm not bringing out the commentators' curse. So there is some drama between them. Maybe Mac McFarquhar is not that far behind. Maybe he can find his way back involved in the podium. You never really know. Obviously, we've already seen 3 and 4 cars already making a little bit of contact with each other. We'll discuss a little bit about what's happening in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship when it comes to the penalties from race control. But effectively, they're going a little bit harsher in this round, where first lap incidents will be doubled in points in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. That does not apply here, but we did hear from race control. These drivers are aware that has happened in British Formula 4 Esports, and they're almost under threat that if they misbehave, race control can throw the same sort of rules down on this championship as well. So they kind of want to keep things fairly clean. Otherwise, race control might go, right, fine, that's fine. You've had your fun for the first half of the championship. Now we're going to step up these penalties, start maturing yourself. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. In some ways, I do like a double penalties for the first lap because it is so tight, but it really just hinders the race so much if you have the incidents there. So just having that little bit of a couple of percent of caution is generally quite a good thing as well. That's a bit of a slide there for Will Hope. That's going to give Henry Moore a really good run coming down in towards Lodge Corner, but Will Hope's just going to come across, cover off. No, he's not. He's going to keep to the left-hand side, lift off, in fact. Henry Moore up to 2nd place, the easiest overtake of the day. Yeah, of course, Will Hope kind of thinking a bit longer game on that one, maybe thinking, look, I just want to try and keep on the podium here, if I'm perfectly honest. We can see both Hopes on the podium if they manage to work their way past Ronnie Smith. But I think even they understand the position and the power that Henry Moore has in this championship. He's been so strong in the 2023 campaign. When you talk of the leading lights of the championship, Henry Moore certainly is it. Darren Moore's given him a good run for his money, and it's still, title race is most certainly not done. It ain't over till it's over. But at the moment, Henry Moore is just looking a little bit too strong. Yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. He could be taken out in the next couple of races for, things, or he just makes mistakes. Who knows? You want to be getting these points on the board, so getting this win from that, 5th row of the grid it was. Definitely wants to be, concealing that with the final couple of laps in this race. 2 minutes to go. It's going to be as we come in towards the Britain chicane. Ronnie Smith, though, he himself has had such a good race today, getting up towards the front of this reverse grid race, but he's got more really on the back of him now, defending towards the inside, down towards Hislop's Moore, not looking at this time around, but maybe a final lap's end. Yeah, of course, of this grouping, Ronnie Smith is 6th in the championship, but he's yet to get a podium, so would dearly like to pick one of those up. Of course, Ed Hope and Will Hope, both of those two, a bit further down the championship, definitely don't have podiums to their name in the season, so they're all kind of fighting for something quite special here. Meanwhile, having the championship leader sort of in the middle of all of them. They've got one more lap, though. Ronnie Smith trying to hang on to race victory here. We'll have to take a little bit of a defensive line here as we head down towards Lodge Corner for the penultimate time. The outside line's being taken from Henry Moore. He's going to commit into the braking zone, trying to sneak his way around the outside. Big snap of oversteer, though, from Henry Moore, and it's opened the opportunity for Will Hope to come back through. Does he have the momentum though? Coming down towards Old Hall Corner, Moore seems to be fairly decent, but up the inside is going to be Will Hope. Backed out of a move earlier, but he doesn't this time around. Side by side in towards the first corner, almost contact between the two. Moore just about manages to hold on, and now his teammate Ed Hope is getting the run in towards Denton's, but doesn't go for it that time around. Moore, I think he was trying to set up that move in towards the final corner, maybe just to have a bit of a test for this final lap, but does he have the speed to catch back down? I think he should just about do, but he's made his job a little bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of an uphill challenge, but still, maybe that extra sort of, you're carrying the momentum back into the fight. Sometimes that's kind of a good thing if you can't find a way past someone in a race. If you've got the space to back off them and then come back at them, try that, because it might just open up potential opportunities. Maybe he's not exactly wanted to do it, but maybe Henry Moore's going to be on the receiving end of that a little bit. Ronnie Smith taking that defensive line. They come through the Britain chicane. This is going to be a tough one. I can imagine Hart is absolutely pounding right now.
Does he go for a hit, or does he wait for Lodge corner? Surely Lodge is the logical one, but is it going to be the move? No, it's not. In towards his lobsters. Ronnie Smith, just slightly awkward line there, in towards that chicane. That's certainly going to make his job just a little bit harder, losing that maybe half a tenth of momentum as you come up the hill once more. This needs to be, as we said in the previous race, this is the corner where you have to get your car in the right move. Round the outside it might be though.
Yeah, here we go then. Henry Moore looking to try and take over the race lead. He's got to be so brave around the outside of Druids. It's fantastic between the pair of them. Ronnie Smith is on the inside. There's almost contact between the two of them. Their wheels were basically inside each other. They head their way down the final stretch towards Lodge Corner. It's Henry Moore on the outside, Ronnie Smith on the inside. Henry Moore looking for a fifth win. Ronnie Smith looking for a first as they come through the final corner, as they come up Deer Leap. It's going to be a first victory for Ronnie Smith in the Formula 1600. We have our third winner of the season after a fantastic fight. It is Ronnie Smith on top of Henry Moore, Will Hope and Ed Hope. A fantastic fight for the race victory here in the second race at Oulton Park as we prepare for the second half of the season.
What a race once again. I'm really happy for Ronnie Smith. He's had such a solid season, and this is really just the rewards from that one. Managing to hold off, that was a massive send by Moore, putting him in a really awkward situation, but they didn't take each other out. They left each other just the perfect amount of space. Then in towards that final corner at Lodge, Smith put his car once again just in the perfect position on the outside, just to hold on the exit, not leaving Moore too much space. So really, really great driving there from Ronnie Smith.
Yeah, obviously it'd be great to catch up once again from from the likes of Henry Moore once more this season, but more so to wonder whether the potential reduction of stress, maybe, from having issues with his championship rivals, or maybe there was kind of like more stress added from like, okay, now that they've had that problem, I've got to kind of like make the most of this race. Kind of, it depends what kind of mentality you've got as to which side of that you end up on. But for Ronnie Smith, obviously provisionally our race winner in this one, a 10.5 clear of Henry Moore, Will Hope, Ed Hope, those four battling for the race victory, separated by half a second over the line. Mac Farquhar with his season best performance inside the top 5, a superb performance. Dana Moore and Jason Cooper continued their fight, only a bit lower down than where they were wanting. That was down in 6th and 7th. Ciro Zambra worked his way up inside the top 10 with Brandon Loudon and Franek Sikorsky getting himself in 10th. Ciro Zambra with the fastest lap of the race as well for good measure. Just outside the points paying position, Owen Whittle, Connor Skudau, then Aaron Mentor up from the rear of the field. Cameron Knowles, of course, Jordan Groves, Daniel Caulfield. Big shame to see him drop down the order to 16th after some of his issues. Same with Ollie Ettridge and Isaac Phelps. Adam Tompkins having that moment in the Shell Oils corner. He retired from the race. Same with Martin Bilk, who found himself in 20th, and a retirement from the race. Same with Caulfield back down. Anyone with like the +5 laps, you kind of basically retirement. Although we did see Ollie Ettridge come across the line to at least finish in that one. Of course, behind that we have Jack Badger and Matthew Crisp getting involved in incidents on that very, very first lap. Cam, that was pretty dramatic, but I mean, how many more superlatives can you throw about Ronnie Smith?
Yeah, it's certainly dramatic as well, with two of the main drivers up towards the front of the championship with Cooper. I mean, even Phelps, is up there as well, but also Dan and Moore, losing crucial points there. Fortunately, they were able to stay in the race, but still more crucial points, just losing the ones that he gained in that first race. So coming to the second half of the season, that is going to be very, very difficult indeed to overturn that points. But maybe sometimes you just got to have a little bit more caution there from a Moore side and not go 3 wide in towards Druids. But at the same time, he needs to take the risks if he wants to overcome that margin.
Certainly so. Well, hopefully we're able to catch a word with Ronnie Smith after a sensational victory. Let's bring him in here. Ronnie Smith, congratulations. A first victory of the season. Super performance. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, good. It was a good race, fun race. Obviously, reverse grid done us okay. Could have been a lot worse. But just tried to get in front as quickly as possible, and we did that, and then had a good battle with Henry at the end.
When you saw Henry, work his way through and was right behind you, were you kind of thinking, oh, well, maybe he's going to get past me and then run off and I'm battling for a podium, or were you still pretty confident you could keep him behind?
No, I knew from practice and stuff we wasn't a million miles off him pace-wise, so it was just trying to manage the gap. And then if he went for a move, it was all about defending, just keeping him behind.
That's the first half of the season wrapped up then. What are the positives that you can take from it outside of this race victory? Is it the consistency? Is it the pace? What are you taking into that second half?
Yeah, well, we know we got the pace. Bits of luck here and there haven't quite gone our way. So I think if we continue to hammer laps in, then eventually luck will start to come.
Well, Ronnie, we'll let you get off, prepare yourself for that second half of the season. We'll be coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Super effort.
Thank you.
There we go, Ronnie Smith making it a third winner of the season. His first, of course. The driver we had to fend off, though, happened to be championship leader and the driver with 8 now consecutive podiums. Henry Moore from 10th place. Couldn't quite grab the victory. So, I was going to suggest if you did take that win, it would have to be a first challenge in Silverstone. But talk us through that race. Struggled to get past Ronnie in the final laps.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good driver. Just defended perfectly, to be honest. Couldn't really find a way around him, but yeah, well done, Ronnie. There was a massive gap. I had like 2 or 3 seconds to catch up. But yeah, I managed to do it. Will and Ed Hope. That was an interesting battle. I was thinking, oh, don't collide, because that would have been a bit awkward. But yeah, really good battle between all of us. Glad I could make my way up the grid.
Now, when you were making your way up the grid, you saw a little bit of drama, obviously, with your championship rival, Dan and Moore. Obviously, you had Jason Cooper and Isaac Phelps in there. Were you kind of like behind that, seeing and kind of thinking, I knew that was going to happen? Because you just seem to just guide your way around it pretty easily.
Yeah. When Dan got me, I just sat behind them. I didn't want to go for any moves because I could see it was getting a bit feisty. And yeah, when they went 3 wide, that was always going to happen. So just lifted off, made my way around them, and then had a massive gap to catch. But yeah, really happy, to be honest.
We've got 8 more races in the season. Maybe we'll see 8 more podiums from you. Who knows? Henry, we'll let you relax for the evening. Again, fantastic effort and another podium.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Thanks.
There you go, Henry Moore, championship leader now. 168 points to his name. Might be 169, but I can't do maths. Even the spreadsheet can't keep up on that one because of course, the bonus point in the first race. This time, though, we're joined by Will Hope onto the podium for the first time this season. Talk to us about that one. That looked like a pretty dicey battle in all of that.
Yeah, nice to be up at the front. It's a lot safer up here. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Ed and I managed to not tangle. Tried to run as close as NASCAR can, but yeah, it's bit slippy. I thought I'd let Henry through. I thought he could have a go at the guy in front. But yeah, guy right at the front, amazing. Held everyone off.
I was going to say, obviously, the reverse grid there was 10. It kind of put you up there. Fair enough, it is what it is. But do you kind of feel that you've got the pace to kind of be up in these kind of positions normally in race, and maybe it's not piecing it together in qualifying, or how is it? Because it seems like the top 10 is so close on pace anyway.
Yeah, I think the quality of the racing up at the front is really clean. There's loads of space, and on top of that, I keep messing up my qualifying. So I think that's probably the main reason I'm always down at the back. Yeah. I'd like to be in the top 10 a lot more.
I mean, look, it's the first half of the season done. I'm sure you've taken a lot of learning into the second half. Is the main thing nail qualifying? Must get a clean lap in qualifying?
Yes, 100%. Turn up on time to qualifying. Yeah, definitely.
I'll keep our fingers crossed for that. We'll see you back in Silverstone. Congrats on the podium.
Thank you.
Well, Cam, there we go. Done with Formula 1600s then for the day. And again, brilliant. Again, it's always entertaining at the bare minimum.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the points have already been updated on the official website with the drop round. And according to this, there's only a 9-point gap between Moore and Henry Moore in P1 and 2. Now, obviously, as you say, the drop round coming in, the kind of issue for Moore in that regard is that because he's had some good rounds, he's actually going to lose a lot of points when that comes into effect. Whereas obviously Amor having a bad round, he's not going to lose so many. So certainly something to think about as we get towards this second half in the championship, because yeah, that's going to be a big gap. Amor needs to try and a big jump. I say for Amor losing. So Amor needs only 9 points as it stands.
Well, I mean, if you think about it as like, if you're taking the drop round in the way that it's like, you know, for one evening of racing, then really Henry Moore's worst evening of racing is the one we've just seen, where he's finished in second twice, which that is terrifying. But like, you're absolutely right. Like, because you've been so consistent through the season, you actually kind of like you lose more points through the drops. Meanwhile, someone who's had a couple of poor races, they lose those and then keep the good points. That's the entire point of drop scores. When it comes to spreadsheets, though, my one is not advanced enough to take advantage of that because, again, idiots here in the competition. So we hope for the best, but that's where drop scores become very complicated. So we'll try and keep you up to date on that as the championship unfolds. Let's go back though into Formula 4 mode though as we get ready for that one. Again, brilliant race earlier on, and again it does seem as though Pete Berryman is just looking stronger and stronger.
Yeah, he certainly is, and of course his teammate Luke McKeown will be on that pole position thanks to the top 5 being reversed as well. But McKeown really dropped off at the end of that first race. So was that just a bit of damage that we didn't see or something? Because if he's going to now be in the lead of the race, if he's going that slow, everyone's just going to be backed up behind him. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure there was definitely some damage there or something, because it's not like Luke McKeown to drop off that much. But I think it's going to be a very tricky race. Once again, we're going to see that big sort of train, and it's going to be very difficult to overtake, because when everyone is just bumper to bumper to bumper, there's no space for you to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to remember that McKeown is the champion. He's plenty fast enough around here. But of course, we are on the international layout. It's one that's not too common for us in British Formula 4 IRL. Of course, it has raced around here in real life. Do you know what year it was, Cam? I'm testing you now.
That's not a question for me to know off the top of my head.
It was 2014. They came here and we did the international rather than, and it was boring. And so we didn't do it again, which was a wise move. They normally run the island layout, but of course here in Sim Race you can really take it to the fullest extent. Of course, that was the year before it became the MSA formula, and then Lando Norris came along and then won the championship. So there's a few little sprinklings of information as we head into this second race. I did find out whilst I was going on my little hunt for stats that Ben Constantiouris raced in a round of the British Formula 4 Championship back in 2014. So of course it was called British Formula Ford back then, but still. Anyway, we'll cut out the boring chat and we'll focus back again on the race. Pete Berryman leads the championship on 115 points. He's 30 clear now of J Caruana. But again, it's about keeping this race clean. It can all go sideways in just one race.
It certainly can, and we've seen that a few times, because we also were mentioning, Josh Ladd earlier not having the best round back at Brands Hatch to start the season, but that is also because he got taken out by Luke McKeown as well when they're batting for the race lead. So things like that can happen even if you're in a strong position like Ladd was on that occasion. Drivers can go and make mistakes behind you, so it's definitely something that you need to take into consideration a little bit, but at the end of the day, don't think about it too much. Just do the best job that you can, and especially for this driver, Pete Berryman, he's in such a good position. You heard it in that interview as well. He's just going to be still doing a solid race, but he doesn't need to take any crazy risks, and that's such a good position to be in. So I do wonder how he's going to attack this, especially on the first couple laps when people are coming at him, because he doesn't want to just let people through either.
No, absolutely not. Like you say, it's about getting through the race cleanly. I mean, when it comes to it, Pete Berryman's got actually a decent track record with the second races. Of course, the second race is set in the last round. He ended up finishing 8th. That was his worst performance in a race 2. The other 2 he's had, second place in a race victory. Including, of course, that double that he had back in the second weekend, or second race evening rather, of the season. We're looking at Harley Horton here. Of course, someone who's struggled a little bit this season, yet to score a point. Did have his best result in the previous race, that one with being a 12th place finish. So there is potential for points starting in that 12th spot. Maybe we'll see Pure Sims back up there. And again, I do really like the livery. You know why, Cam? Because the yellow highlights.
But yeah, no, it's because it's white. I think that's why you like it.
No, I'm not huge. I'm not a huge fan of white liveries. But the yellow highlights win me over, so...
Yeah, it is nice. It is a nice one, but unfortunately, they're not even the strongest season in the world. The other driver, Alexander Davidson, who we obviously saw in that previous race, batting up towards the front, his best result was only a P4. Then he's only had another couple of point scoring occasions as well, with a 7th, a 10th, and a 10th place. So, yeah, not the best season for Pewsims so far. But as you say, P12, certainly some opportunity to get inside that top 10 for Horton.
Well, we'll get ready for yet another 20-minute race. Again, this will be race 8 of the season, with 16 races in our hunt for the champion. That means that we are about to pass the halfway point of 2023. It's been a reverse grid of 5, meaning that it'll be Luke McKeown starting from the reverse grid pole. Obviously, still got a lot of work to do. We'll take a look at the starting order. McKeown, Caruana on the front row with standard Islanders, Gordie, Mutch, Pete Berryman, our race winner in the previous one, with Josh Ladd not reversed, starting that one from 6th. Remy Gilbert, Moreno Sarika, Tobias Olsen and Alexander Davidson inside the top 10. But we get Brandon Abrahams and Daniel Sabula in 12th. We'll let the rest of them filter their way through. And you can see some of the positions that people have picked in, some of the dramas that people have had. Of course, Veloce VECT down the order, Freem UK and Josh Pulane down the order. And big shames for them, and of course a few others way out of position. This is not going to be an easy race for those in the mid-pack.
Oh, it certainly is not. It's going to be very difficult to get up into, of course, top 10 get points. So if you're down there or P15, it's going to be difficult to get up there. But let's see what happens on this first lap. Obviously, contact is right around every corner.
Yep, every single one around here at Oulton Park. Race 8 of the season about to get underway here at Oulton Park as we go green in Cheshire. And a fantastic start once again from our pole sitter. Our reverse grid pole sitter is Luke McKeown leading off as they head their way down into the first corner. Matt Caruana in behind, trying to find any way through, getting his Kimura car up into the race lead and trying to run away from this quartet that has been sat at the front all round long as we head our way through turn 2 and 3.
Yeah, so looking very nice though for the top lot as we come down. Now onto the lakeside straight. Seems like everyone is holding on for position, but maybe not up the inside there. Pete Berryman is going to have to just defend that one in towards Shell Oils. That's not the nicest place to take his all. Lads had some issues though coming in towards the break, and so he drops right down.
Yeah, Remy Gilbert was absolutely going for the gap right there. Did not really care one bit. And sent it straight in as hard as he possibly could. Out wide, obviously Josh Ladd was trying to go on the attack of Pete Berryman, and it's caused him a little bit of a kerfuffle, and maybe even might lose out to Tobias Olsen here on the stretch down towards the Hislop chicane. It is Olsen looking to the outside, Josh Ladd on the inside, overcommitting potentially. There's plenty of side-by-side on all this. Pick these all apart as they try and work their way through. It is very dicey indeed.
Was in the background there, so I think Armstrong absolutely sending it up the inside of Horton in towards Nickelbury. He's got Pulane, his teammate, a car behind that as well. So definitely some big moves coming down a little bit further towards the mid-pack as it stands. And remember, as we said, points for the top 10, so they need to be working their way up towards the sort of that top 10 that we were talking about. Look at all these overtakes for that position. Abrahams gets himself up into that P10. Olsen just ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Abrahams trying to fend off at the moment, trying to hang on to that final spot position. Sends one down the order. Oh, and sending Tobias Olsen down the order properly. Wow, that was a big send to the inside at T1 at Old Halls. Tobias Olsen dropping down now to 11th position, maybe even on Lucas Muller as well. He might have a slowdown with how wide he went. And I think that is exactly what's happened. So he's having to give up even more. That will be quite a penalty, I think, for Abrahams.
I think so. Olsen's not going to be happy with that one at all. Just getting absolutely sent off the track there, side by side between the teammates in towards Shell Oils. Of course, they're trying to not really lose time to Caruana, but the gap is still really small, so they can have these battles. As that's going to be third place for Mutch. This is there in that 4th position. Of course, Pete Berryman right up the back, and we got this top 7 working their way up towards the front. Though it is going to be Caruana towards the outside of his lots, round the outside. That's going to be very difficult. There's a tyre stack on the inside. They avoid it. But Luke McKeown gets squeezed out.
Yeah, but here comes Gordie Mutch as well. That was a bit dicey. Once again, a bit of a hip check as well. But they're going to fight quite hard as really not giving any room there was Matt Caruana trying to fend his way back past Luke McKeown. Of course, Gordie Mutch is not going to try and make this 3-wide. We've already seen those dramas in the Formula 1600 race. But look at this, side by side all the way down the order. Stanley Deslanders trying to get to the outside of Gordie Mutch and all this. Matt Caruana straight around the outside as they go through Druids up towards the final corner at Lodge. Caruana's trying to take over the race lead. He's trying to fend off Luke McKeown, who's going to send it straight back down the inside of into that final corner. McKeown continues to lead from Caruana, from Mutch, from Dislandis, from Pete Berryman, Remy, Gilbert and Moreno Sarika involved in the fight as well in that Williams Esports car.
Yeah, Sarika up the inside in towards Oldhall. He's going to get past there of Gilbert. Just almost a bit of contact as well between the two in towards Oldhall. These guys are absolutely crazy. Cars are up. The Pure Sims cars dropping all the way down. So Armstrong, I think, potentially dropping down the way. Ladd's been involved in that one as well, as all sorts of contact is happening here. Coming in towards Cascades, the cars off, but Locke way off into the car.
Damash Simon is out of here. That was all of that, like for 2 corners, that was very messy from the mid-pack. We've seen that time and time again. Again, a reminder of what we were talking about a little bit in the Formula 1600s, if you weren't watching us through that. The first lap instance will be doubled penalty-wise throughout this race, and they're looking at a bit more in this rather than how they were in previous rounds, because they race control and sentence grid's been a bit naughty, so they're trying to tidy some things up and discourage some of those negative moves. We have still seen quite a few. Obviously we've got these battles for the race victory. We've got battles down the back end. The top 10 switch over. Rachel Kokoli puts Prismatic inside the points paying positions, drags through James Armstrong as well. Daniel Sabula drops down to 13th maybe.
Yeah, because Poulain is trying to follow his teammate through into that, what's that going to be, 12th position. He's going to be up the inside of Druid, side by side between them. Goes all. Concoli's had an issue as well, all the way dropping down. Further contact in the background as well. More cars going off as so many people. Sabula involved, Arvidsson also involved. 3 cars off at Druids. Yeah,
this is poor. I don't know what happened with Rachel Concoli though. That was clearly there was something technical in there, which is a big shame after getting up into that spot. We'll take another look just in the foreground, drive straight on. We see all this in the background. Hip check there from the Williams. That Isaac Arvidsson then straight into the barrier. I mean, that's just poor. All of that was just poor.
Yeah. Oh, look, big damage for Concoli. Look at that steering damage going right in a left-handed corner, and I would assume that's just choosing. Just choosing to get out of the way and park it.
That's a shame. That is a shame. Mate, I don't know where that damage would have come from. Maybe it was coming from clipping one of the barriers when trying to get through into that 10th position. But yeah, I mean, gotta say, respect. Clearly, the damage was on the rear, and I've always said before, when it comes to damage, if you're gonna have damage on the front, you can kind of deal with it. When you have damage on the rear, it's like a shopping trolley with an awkward wheel. You will not go where you want to go. Let's put it down. My trolley always takes me down the snack aisle. I'm always determined that's down to the broken wheel. It's not true, but still, you've got to believe.
Yeah, oh no, I'm at the biscuit section once again. What a shame. As Luke McKeown holds on to this P1. But look at the drivers just lining up behind as it's turned into almost the top 6. Are just about to lose. Gilbert comes to the outside a little bit for Caruana, defending to the inside for McKeown. But we've seen you lose that momentum down towards the final corner.
Here we go then, up towards the final one at Lodge. Let's see if Caruana can take it over, but he might lose out. The thing is, if he doesn't go for this, and he's gone for a spin as well. There was contact between himself and McKeown, and he has gone round. I'm not sure whether there was full contact. He's going to rejoin the race circuit with the inside line being taken there from Harley Horton. But Matt Caruana, second in the championship, dropped down now outside of the points.
And look who that leaves inside the top 4. That's a big move there for Caruana, or it's a big shame, sorry, for Caruana, I should say, in towards Lodge there. Look at the despair on his face as well. He knows what that's going to cost him as he defends massively there from Hoffland in towards Cascades. But even getting inside the top 10 now, it's going to be a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I think he might be, he's taking another defensive line here, trying to keep the Aston Martin behind, and you can see he is fuming. And I mean, look, I'm going to say I get it. I absolutely get it. Obviously being like angry sometimes is acceptable, but this is definitely one of them. You're battling for a championship. It's a high honour to be fighting for a title like this, and he is doing so much when he's fighting with all of yes, whether you could say 29 Esports by JHR, they're still Apex Racing Team drivers. They're still going to work with each other. Their interests, whether it's whoever wins the championship, they're still working in a sense with each other, and you're trying to fight around all of that, and then you get some of this dealt on your plate. It is not pretty. Let's see once again what happened as to whether there was space. I think there was a bit of air there, or whether, I don't know if it was full contact. We'd have to see it kind of on board with McKeown, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, was he locking his rear tyres already? Something like that. I was thinking is already the case, but there was definitely some contact. It just depends. Was he already spinning around, which sort of brought his front end in a little bit? We'll have to see, of course, another angle. McKeown goes to the inside, but where does he appear? To that left-hand side. That's the trick. tell you what, I'm not sure about that because his front end sort of didn't really move, and then the rear just slid out of the way.
Basically, what we can say there is, regardless of how you feel about it, J Caruana got seriously unlucky. Yeah, such a big shame. But it is what it is. Did get a note, by the way, to say that Rachel Kokoli caught the tyre barrier on the way through, kind of what we suspected. Caught the tyre barrier on the way through and got the meatballs. So big shame.
Yeah, certainly. Easy to do so, though, as all the 25 there has gone around. Unfortunately, that is Abraham's. And I think that's a Shallows, isn't it? Oh, he's beached it. He's beached it. Look at the rear wheel spinning, but unfortunately, no drive. Just a little bit of a ridge there with that camber on the track.
Yeah, that's a big shame. It's as I say, as you go up and over onto the grass, it just drops away so much. And big shame. But it is what it is. In one, we'll see what this moves. There's a big lock up from the Pure Sims on the inside, out of the way. And it's kind of one of those ones you wish you had that little bit more momentum to take you up and over that crest, but that is seriously unlucky.
Yeah, I would not be too happy if I was in his position. I think that was Davidson, just way too late, locking up that tyre, coming in very deep in towards Shep. Also, definitely a messy few laps, to be honest, here in the British F4 Esports. A lot of contact, a lot of things I'm sure the stewards will have on their plate ending this first half of the season. But the top 4, top 5, they've remained the same over the last couple of laps, and McKeown is leading the way.
Yeah, let's see then what McKeown could do. So McKeown, Mutch, Deslanis and Pete Berryman. Moreno Sharika's the driver involved in all this, the only one inside the points for Williams Esports. Remy Gilbert as well, he's got such a solid result in the reverse grids, but of course this time having to really work his way involved. Obviously the top 5 are the only ones reversed in all of this. We ride on board with Gordie Mutch, who would like a victory, but Luke McKeown, obviously he's got a win to his name this season. When it comes to the Teams Championship, JHR for 29 Esports, you've got Stormforce in there as well when it comes to the Teams Championship. Stormforce have a big stranglehold in this, so if Gordie Mutch wants to win the Teams Championship, he's got to go and get past Luke McKeown, who, just to clarify, by the way, despite them, again, all racing, well, let's say all racing for the Apex Racing Facility, it's only Pete Berryman that's racing for the Apex Racing Facility. So if he sends one down the inside of Luke McKeown, he doesn't have to deal with it immediately. That's knowledge.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, when you have teammates and they're in the same sort of house or whatever setup that some of these teams have, it's always a bit awkward. But if they're racing from their own place, it's a little bit different from that one. Let's just have a look in the championship. So the lowest out of these drivers, the lowest place is DeSantis. He's 9th place in the championship, but he's had 3 retirements already this season. He's going to be wanting to get these points. McKeown, of course, down in 4th place after a disappointing opening round of the season to come back to try and regain his title. Here's Poulain and Armstrong. They've swapped around actually at some point, so Poulain has got ahead trying to lead that charge up towards Lucas Muller.
Again, remember, Poulain first round of the championship, 3rd and the 3rd, then finished 9th, 6th, and has not been in the points from then until now. So he's had a big struggle through the last couple of rounds. Would like to reignite the second half of the season. Mostly that's because the qualifying's been dreadful from Poulain. We know he's got the race car, we know he's got the ability. I mean, look at the first round of the championship. He put on some of the absolute best moves that we've seen of the season, whether you account for last season or the season even up until now. It's Poulain with the king of overtakes in all this. Now find himself in 8th position, like you say, just trying to get some points back onto the board as we ride on board with Duncan Hoffman.
They're looking very calm there in that 13th position as it stands. He's got the opportunity to get Emery and Caruana up ahead, but Caruana still leading some very good pace. So don't think there's any major damage, at least after that potential contact that we saw in towards Lodge Corner. And I'm actually very surprised with Hoffman there. I'm sure if we got the count for obviously even more drivers you see there seems to be a lot of facial expressions, but that seems very, very chill.
Yeah, it does seem very calm. Of course, we've spoken a couple of times about the Aston Martin Aramco Cognizant Esports team. By the way, way too long of a name. I'm just going to say that right now. That is too long. But to have a team like that represented in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship is absolutely amazing. To have it officially here. They have not had a good season, though. Let's just put it that way. They've not pieced things together the way they wanted to. We know that Duncan Hoffman, we know that Bianca Lilla with their quality drivers, but things just have not come together this season as J Caruana is defending from Matt Emery.
Yeah, certainly is, and Biancalilla not even at this race. A hard defence to the left-hand side there for Caruana up towards this massively fast left-handed corner. The island bend around the outside is going to have to be, but Emery's not going to try that this time around. But certainly a nice battle between these guys, but Caruana putting his car in the right place. You've seen that a couple of times already. He likes that hard defensive move to the left-hand side because as we've seen already, the outside of the island bed is very difficult. It's not the place that you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I think, though, points are really out of reach for this grouping. It's 4 seconds up to Alexander Davidson in 10th. The only way that it's going to happen is if there's drama ahead of them. And let's be honest, let's not rule that one out. You never really know, especially when you consider how close this grouping are. Gordie Mutch did make a mistake in the previous race, so you know, that was almost into the rear end of the other Stormforce racing car, that one being Pete Berryman. We did hear him chatting about that one. This time he didn't really want to do it on Luke McKeown. He's got Standard as Landers right behind him. Really solid effort from both JHR by 29 Esports cars. Second and third in the first race, second and third running in this one.
Yeah, very, very good indeed, and especially as we're saying, with Deslanders, they're down in 9th place in the championship, but especially to help the team's championship, needs to be getting those points on the board between now and the end of the season. You know, as we were mentioning last time, ran out of fuel, which unfortunately meant he didn't get a win. Might not get it today with two very fast drivers in front, but getting these consistent results, consistent podiums, consistent top fives, even that is going to be what they need to aim for in the next few rounds. In the background, Berryman is under quite big attack now from Sarika.
Yeah, I mean, look, kind of heard it from Pete earlier though. He was saying, I've done what I need to do this round. You know, I've scored the points I need to score. And now with the issues for Matt Caruana, it's kind of even more in that. And you know, some drivers aren't fully aware as to everything about what's going on around them when it comes to good points scores, bad point scores from the the drivers close to you in the championship. Trust me, Pete Berryman is well aware as to what's going on. He'll be sat here, almost no pressure on his shoulders, thinking, you know what, I could. Maybe I don't want to have a chat with Lewis. I'll just sit here in 4th place. That saves me that drama. I can just cruise.
That saves him an interview. And also still good for the championship. Because yeah, you're right, Caruana, unlikely to even get 1 point. And even if he did, Berryman's probably not going to be crying about that one. So certainly a very good position that he's put himself in. And that all came, if you remember, from that qualifying session, sticking it up there at the front. And that is what gives you the really, really good opportunity. But Sarika's not going to make it easy for him. Defending to the inside is Berryman in towards Old Hall Corner this time round. Still manages to get a pretty good racing on. I think it's going to be very difficult for Sarika to finally make this overtake at some point with just the positioning and the speed that Berryman's got underneath him.
There'll be 3 laps left to go in this one, so there's still plenty of opportunity. I believe the fastest lap at the moment is being held by Moreno Sarika with a 32.141. Remy Gilbert's a little further off the back of this, but still could do something for Gilbert Racing, especially if anything dramatic happens. But there'll be 3 laps left to go. Luke McKeown leading, Mutch, then Deslanders, then Pete Berryman, then Moreno Sarika and Remy Gilbert. There's a look to the outside as Caruana is trying to defend from the Veloce VECT car of Emery. There you've got Duncan Hoffman as well involved in the mix. Like I say, this train seems like it might grow a little bit because you've got Tobias Olsen and Tamas Simon that might well rejoin this fight fairly soon.
Yeah, certainly got to be looking out for these battles because you really, really do slow down when you start battling. It's at especially at the point in the race when there's only a couple of laps left, you might want to go for these positions, but sometimes it's actually better to wait, and that's why we often see these battles wait until the final couple of laps, because if you battle in the midfield, you just lose time to the cars ahead, and you have drivers behind you catch up, and it just makes your life a little bit more difficult. So even though it is a 20-minute sprint race, definitely a lot of strategy, a lot of racecraft that comes into it, and I think that's what's happening between these drivers up on the podium. I think Mutch is going to go for this at some point. Where he was getting really close to McKeown a couple of laps ago, but almost pushing him, just waiting for that opportunity to find the right time to go for the overtaking. McKeown actually a little bit wider than he would have liked there.
I kind of don't think Gordie will. I think he will only go for something if McKeown makes a mistake. But I think, as much as he might try and force that mistake a little bit, I don't think he's going to do anything too extreme to push anything over the line. Because again, they don't want to risk this at the moment. They're running, second and third. Yes, first, second, third, fourth, whatever. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. That's fine. They're running second and third. right? And that's strong. That's good. He's running in second. He's looking to try and get a decent points haul onto the board, which he's struggled with. There was a bit of smoke there, by the way, on the right-hand side. And I think there's Caruana, there's Emery as well. I did see that smoke as they were coming up towards the island bend, and it seems as though there's been quite a bit of drama.
Yeah, they were swapping positions. That must have been into about the turn 1 region of the track. Caruana dropped behind these two. And there's going to be, potentially, I should say, a slow down. Caruana's coming up behind.
Oh, no. Matt Caruana, I am so sorry, but that looked very intentional. And for a driver that's been so strong this season, that was unnecessary. And in my book, that is a ban.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
That's bad. That's terrible.
Yeah,
that's
definitely
shocking.
went to left-hand side when he did need to. And he'd already dropped behind those drivers. So I think there must have been something that happened before that, maybe a couple of laps before, for him to drop behind that caused him to have that reaction. But either way, you flat out, you just don't do that.
Like the thing is you're kind of sat there being like, okay, so that's really stupid to do. So well done. But you're not even in the points, mate. Why would you even bother? Like, just retire from the race and take it to a message. You know what I mean? That is bafflingly stupid from a driver who I think has been really impressive this season. But that's disgusting. So that's fun. That's really ruined this race. Let's see what's going to happen up for the race lead. McKeown, Mutch, Deslandis all involved in this fight, but I'm still not sure we're going to get very much. I'm a little furious about that, I'm not going to lie.
But that's what happens when you get these drivers. They're so close together. They're so in control of what they can do over the course of the race. And it is, I mean, it's difficult. It'll be difficult to make an overtake. And as you mentioned a couple of laps ago, actually, the best thing that Mutch can do is try and force a mistake. But the issue is when you get the top drivers, they don't make too many mistakes. And when they do, you only have that one opportunity in the race. So it's a slightly different style of racing when you get to this sort of level. These drivers just pushing each other to the absolute limit. With just 16 seconds to go, it's getting very close once again, but it looks like it's going to be a final potential corner here for Gordie Mutch.
Yeah, once again, these five will be sat here thinking, oh, what a boring race. Nothing really happened in that one. Whoa, check the replay, lads. Check the replay. Plenty has happened behind. You lot have all just been driving fine. Gordie Mutch with a little bit of a look to the outside. McKeown, no mistakes into the final corner. Berryman defending from Moreno Siriku, who I think was a little bit slower for Druids. And Luke McKeown will depart the final corner to take his second win of the season. He is back, ladies and gents. And once again, he is trying to hunt down his teammate in the fight for the title. Berryman, though, still a solid result with fourth, is starting to run away with things a little bit in the title race. Gordie Mutch and Deslandis between the pair of those two. Moreno Siriku in fifth, Remy Gilbert, and then, of course, Muller, Poulain, Armstrong and Davidson. But let's just say this race has been tinted a little bit more in the negative light, and I get the feeling that Race Control aren't going to be too pleased heading into the second half of the season.
Absolutely not. They were already starting to come down a little bit more harsh with the drivers. And unfortunately, yeah, we've seen some actions that should not be seen in any race, to be honest. So I'm sure that's going to be dealt with as well. And as you say, just puts a little bit of stain on the race, because overall, I think we have seen some pretty decent racing here and there. It is a tricky track, but yeah, can't let tempos get too high.
No, absolutely not. Like, especially when it's outside. So I can't get over the fact that it was just outside of the points as well. Honestly, if you're that irritated, just pull over and quit. Go and do something else. Just go and play Call of Duty or something and just relax. You can see the JHR by 21 Esports drivers there going side by side around. They've had an absolutely fantastic evening of racing, second and third in both of the races, meaning it's a third consecutive podium for Stanley Deslandis. And of course, back-to-back podiums for Gordie Mutch. He didn't retire from this one. We'll catch up with him in a moment, as well as with Luke McKeown, who won the race. Pete Berryman in fourth position with Moreno Siriku in fifth. Remy Gilbert, Lucas Muller, Josh Poulain, James Armstrong and Alexander Davidson round out the top 10. Of course, fastest lap there being set by Moreno Siriku, and he'll take the bonus point courtesy of it. Duncan Hoffland in 11th position, just outside of the points with Tamas Simon. Tobias Olsen, Sergio Fitzpatrick in 14th position with Harley Horton down in 15th. Of course, still struggling a little bit this season. Same with Ted Bradbury. It's not been a good one for Altus Esports, of course, having one driver in the first race and struggles in the second one. Josh Ladd down in 17th. He's not having a good season with Matt Emery and Matt Caruana, who I think will be pulled to one side. Let's just put it that way going into the next round. Both Matts might be, to be perfectly honest. Dennis Sabula down in 20th as a retirement from the race, as well as we get Brandon Abrahams, Rachel Concoli, who had a big shame, got inside the points and then almost instantly retired after damage coming through the chicane at Hislops. Then Isaac Arberton Alvaro Marinero and Aaron Vasquez, our retirements from the race. Big drama in this one, big shames for some, big plaudits though to be handed out to others, as we will grab ourselves a race winner courtesy of Luke McKeown in just a moment's time. He's had an unbelievable performance and once again has pieced the race together brilliantly to take his second win of the season. Luke McKeown, talk us through that one. Looks pretty simple and easy for you, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race with Matt at the start. It's just unfortunate what happened. I think it was just a bit of netcode into the last corner, put him off. But after that, just drove really solid pace the rest of the race. So no one could really go for any moves behind. So they're pretty happy with that after not really a good first race or qualifying. So yeah, not bad.
It's obviously still a long way to go in the season. Still got, we're halfway. We've still got 8 more races. Do you think that you can take a victory in the championship? Go back to back on that one. Do you think Pete Berryman might be a little bit too far down the road? Are you now just focused on the team side of things?
I mean, it's going to be hard in Pete's polling every race, but
that's true.
I'll give it my best shot.
I can see you're already like flicking through replays and stuff, trying to figure out what's happened in the race. Is that instantly what it's like for you? Like as soon as you're done with the race, it's like, right, I almost like need a debrief. I need to figure out what's gone on.
Yeah, first thing I did was look what happened to me and Matt in the last corner, just so I know, like, before going into this interview, like what actually happened. But from what I've seen, it's just unfortunate incident. But yeah, it's basically what I'm doing every race.
Well, congratulations on a victory. Maybe we'll be catching up with you in Silverstone and quite a few times over the second half of the season. Luke, congratulations, and yeah, see you soon.
Cheers. See ya.
There we go, another victory there for the Stormforce Racing ART team. Of course, we'll try and get ourselves joined as well by Gordie Mutch and, of course, Stanley Deslandis in all of this. Gordie Mutch, driver, will be in next because he decided it was a good idea to not mess up this race, even though, it's more messy for the other people, it's fine. He finished in second position. Gordie joins us. Hi, mate. Back-to-back podiums. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, finally, I've had a good race 2 result. So how about that? I think this is where this is how every kind of race 2 should have went for the rest of the season. Every race prior, I was always in a kind of podium position. So it's nice. It's nice to have a strong second race. So hopefully that is like the second race curse over for the rest of the season. But let's see.
Now let's speak a little bit of that second half of the season, because we've done a few of the tighter, twistier tracks. Brands Indy, which is always a nightmare. Oulton Park, which is thin, narrow, and tricky. You've navigated those ones. Next time we're heading to Silverstone, though, big, wide open, and we're running the Grand Prix circuit as well. Are you kind of like confident that even if it's like the reverse grid draw is 10 now, that you should be able to work your way through it, or are you kind of a bit nervous that it's just going to be a big slipstream fest around there?
Well, the media day was there, and I had a bit of a lap 1 incident, and I did find that it was quite easy to cut your way through the pack, but it depends it depends on one thing, how hard people are willing to fight you, or whether people are willing to work with you. If people are willing to work with you, it's extremely easy to move forward. But it's very, very easy to get stuck. I think Silverstone will be one of the craziest races of the season. It's there's a lot of long straights, and it's going to pose for these kind of very, very, very tight racing. So it'll be very, very exciting for you guys in the broadcasts booth. But I'm sure us drivers will be pulling our hair out. So it will be exciting for you guys to see our frustrated faces over the Zoom call.
Exciting, yes. Hopefully slightly less dramatic in all those positions behind you, because that race was pretty crazy that we just had. Gordie, I'll let you get off and breathe. Obviously, it was pretty calm for you lot, but you have to be checking that one out and seeing what got me really angry. Off you go.
All right, cool, we'll do it. All right, in a bit. All right.
Gordie Mutch then onto the podium for the 4th time this season. Of course, his teammate is on for 3 consecutive podiums, so we'll catch up with Stan Landis in just a second. Stan, again, you seem to be a different driver since battling for that race victory in the second race at Snetterton. Yes, you came up short there, but 3 consecutive podiums. There's a win out there, isn't there?
Yeah, hopefully soon enough we can get a win. But yeah, since Snetterton, just feeling a little bit more settled, to be honest. Just the qualifying's been better since then. So, and that's the main thing in this series. I think if you're up in the top 5, then you're looking good for the whole event. So yeah.
Obviously, we've got 4 more events in the championship. Which one are you kind of targeting? We know you go quite well around Knock Hill.
Yeah, Knock Hill was pretty good last year, so hopefully, I think that's the next one, right? So hopefully that's another strong point. But Silverstone GP should be quite interesting. That's a new one for this year, and Donington full circuit as well should be pretty fun.
Silverstone is next, by the way, and then it's Knock Hill. So then you get to shine. But it does seem as though that you and Gordie, you're piecing things together quite a bit. Obviously, yes, the Apex Racing team kind of all working as one group, but you're fighting for your own championship on the team side of things. So you kind of want to put the JHR by 29 Esports team ahead of Stormforce. Is there a proper option for that to happen? Do you believe that there is the pace and consistency, or do you think Luke and Pete are a little bit too consistent on that side?
It's definitely tough. They are both very good drivers. I mean, I think it is possible, but of course they're like 60 points ahead of us, something like that. So really, really far ahead of us now. So for us to be consistently in front of them will be tough, but I guess we'll just try our best. I mean, that race I was never going to really go in on Gordie. The plan was just literally just get consistent results after, Gordie's history with race 2, and then me, my first two rounds were pretty shocking as well. So just kind of rack up the points again and just bring the gap a little bit closer with Stormforce ART.
Well, Stan, have a great evening. It's been a fantastic performance, and hopefully we'll see more of this in the second half of the season.
Thank you.
There we go, Cam. We are done for another evening of racing. And of course, wow, was that one dramatic. Obviously, let's talk about the positives first. Let's talk about the great performance from Luke McKeown, the great performance from Pete Berryman, and to be fair, the JHR by 29 Esports team.
Yeah, those 4 they dominated the races, really, didn't they? They had the qualifying speed, they had speed in race 1, speed in race 2. And talking of speed, actually, the results got published already on the website. The average lap in the first race, because that race was 1 lap shorter, because we were just before the time, and the average race lap was 9/10 of a lap slower in that race. So McKeown was going at a bit more of a steady pace that time around. I know maybe the track conditions might have been slightly different for that second race, but still, big pace difference, and didn't have that extra, which is a very intriguing one to point out. But either way, just very fast from those 4 drivers. They're really going to be the ones to look out for, especially the 29 Sports crew. They just want to get as many points as they can on top with Stormforce and try and chase them down in this second half of the season.
And now we'll go into negative mode and speak a little bit of the Caruana. It's obviously, I don't want to speak on behalf of Race Control. They'll take a look at a few things. We saw it quite a few times on the broadcast there. Yeah, it looks like a pretty slam dunk intentional wreck there. Yeah.
You can't have any sort of excuse for that, unfortunately. And especially, a championship of this stature as well. It's not just some random Sunday league or anything like that. It's certainly something that we, you just don't want to see it out on track, and hopefully, just does learn from that coming forward.
Yeah, obviously, look, I'm sure Caruana will, leave the event. We'll come back, 10-20 minutes later and think, oh, what an idiot. I'm so sorry. And I'm sure he'll put apology in the Discord, but of course that doesn't save it from the actual moment itself. That's the problem. And so I would suspect there'll be a harsh penalty of some description. What it will be, I have no idea, nor does Cam, but we can update you next round, because of course, next time we will be heading to Silverstone, which will be different. It's literally the exact opposite of Oulton Park International, isn't it, Cam?
Well, yeah, it's a big, Grand Prix track. It's big, it's open, it's wide. It's a lot of straights and a lot of long straights as well. Probably double the length of what we've seen today at Oulton Park. So definitely a big change, to be honest, in the format of the racing and in the style of the racing. A lot longer laps, a lot less laps in the lap count as well. So definitely going to be a complete different one. And they do have a couple of weeks to get ready for that and prepare. So hopefully we see some very tight racing once more.
Yeah, indeed. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time then, in November. Of course, whilst you say there's 2 weeks to prepare for that, once we start the round at Silverstone, it is bang, 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 bang until we get to the season finale. We'll be racing every single week on the 8th, on the 15th, the 22nd and the 29th, all the way through November to crown our champion before the year's end. Of course, Silverstone Grand Prix will be next on November the 8th, and we hope that you get to join us there, because I'm sure we'll be in for an absolute thrill ride. For myself, Lewis McGlade, from Cam Roger alongside me, and from Connery Maddock, who has brought you this broadcast, we wish you a very warm good evening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for more British Formula 4 esports action.